All right, I've got the defendants present, represented by counsel.
Good morning, everybody. Today is a big day.
State ready to proceed.
Just so everybody understands, the shooter of Ahmaud Arbery is
Yes,
on
Sean,
the
we had
stand this morning.
Kind of an open issue when we ended cross-examination yesterday. We had raised with the court whether it was proper for the state to ask Mr. McMichael about an epithet alleged to have been said that came out during the preliminary hearing in Agent Dial's testimony.
They want to ask him about the
We
N-word.
don't believe it's proper to ask that question at this point, given there is no admissible evidence of that epithet.
They want to hide the fact he said the
Our
N-word.
understanding is he's not going to testify, and without his testimony, there'd be no basis for
Oh yeah,
that
I'm all over the place.
statement. And so the state needed overnight to think about it, I think, and so we're at that point.
Yes, Judge, I was going to actually ask you about that. The state did some legal research overnight, and in the state of Georgia, there are only so many cases, and they all have to do with having a good faith basis to question a character witness about a defendant's underlying other acts. That was really all the state could find as far as admissible questioning. And so while that was all we could find,
Before he takes the stand, the state was going to
did
ask
find
him
two
about the
cases.
N-word.
I'm not sure if they're
And
gonna be
the
extensive about
defense is
that.
saying,
The
don't
second
ask him about him
and
saying the
it
N-word. So
is Coquina, Coquina. I believe it's Investments, INVIS versus TD Bank. It is a 760 F3rd 1300 case.
yeah, no, yesterday was a disaster, brother.
It's
No, some people are saying that
2014.
yesterday was good. Yesterday was a disaster. It
And
was a
basically
legal
that case
disaster.
holds that
The reason
as long
why
as you have a
it
good
was
faith
legally a
basis to
disaster
question whether
is
the
because
evidence is
he's given up
admissible
probable cause.
ultimately or
You
not,
have to have
it's
probable cause to make an arrest
And
in
the other one
Georgia.
we found
He's
was
given it
United
up.
States versus Tucker,
Britt,
553 F3rd.
I know you're not in the case.
711,
How is the
and
DA
that is a
over a
2008
lesser
case from
copy of a
the
video
United
not
States
Brady
Court of Appeals for the
violation
Eighth
in the Rittenhouse case?
Circuit.
Well, first,
What was
for
the other one?
a Brady violation, you
Complaint
need it's
case.
got to be evidence
What
that
was
would
the-
have a tendency to show the
That's Fifth Third,
defendant's
Circuit
Oh,
Court.
sorry.
guilt or innocence.
For the
It could
Coquina
be.
case, that is the
I
11th
believe it
Circuit, United
is
States
because
Court of
if that
Appeals for
if
the
cleaner
11th
video would
Circuit
show if he did it or not. So I believe it's a Brady
2014.
violation, but they're not seeing it that way.
In
They're
the
saying
United
it
States
as
versus Tucker,
it's not
the
a Brady
objection there was
violation,
really
you know,
more
because they
about
had
the
the evidence. So
Confrontation
I'm not
clause
sure.
and a Bruton issue.
The fact that
And
the
in that particular
ADA
case, it
threw
was kind
everyone
of
Bing or
identically
Apple,
what we
Google,
had here. We had a
and the defense
co-defendant who was
didn't
saying
even
that
allow thing under the
she
bus is funny to
acknowledged
me.
that he was planning to
Yeah,
commit armed robbery, that
yeah.
he committed
The
other
Rittenhouse
armed
case is a whole
robberies.
different
And
animal.
so
That case should be dismissed
we have
because
someone
the
who
prosecutors
is seated, the female co-defendant
have
who's
done
not
so many
testifying,
underhanded
and we
things. It's just
have
ridiculous.
the
But everybody's looking
defendant
for the
on the stand,
scapegoat,
and the
and
state
they're
wanted to
praying
ask him,
the
well, was it
jury
true you were planning
scapegoats
these
them.
armed
So
robberies and had committed other
it's
armed robberies
insane.
because she knew about it to show that she was afraid to
But
crime.
yeah, I think
And the
those
objection
those
there was
prosecutors
Bruton
should be
Confrontation clause.
hold in front
However,
of the disciplinary committee because what they did was wrong.
in that
What
case,
they're doing in
where
that
the state
case
was
is
getting
wrong.
its
So
information
thank you, Britt.
from
But
was
yeah,
from a police
it's
report where she had made
it's
some
upsetting
statements as a
to say the
co-defendant.
least. It's upsetting because
Here, the court held the
it's always
Confrontation
upsetting when
clause
someone's
does not
rights
bar
are
the
being
use of
violated
testimonial
in such a
statements for purposes
flamboyant
other
way.
than establishing the
It's
truth
just
of the matter
it's really bad.
asserted.
Ugh.
Tucker could cite
Hey, good
no
morning,
authority for
guys.
the proposition that the use
Yeah,
of an
that
out-of-court
case.
testimonial statement
And we're going to talk
merely
about some of the
as the
misinformation
good
out there.
faith
There's so
factual
much
basis for
misinformation.
relevant
It's crazy.
cross-examination of the defendant at trial implicates any confrontation clause.
Oh, let me turn my volume down.
And then they cited to United States versus Miller, a 1992 case, where we held that the use of a co-defendant's unredacted confession as the factual basis for cross-examining a defense witness at trial did not violate the confrontation clause as construed in Bruton. So
Thank
while
you so
that
much,
may not
Britt.
be their argument, this is a case that talks about it. It's obviously very similar. We have Mr. Bryan making a statement to law enforcement, which is testimonial, where he indicates that he heard Travis McMichael say F and N over Mr. Arbery's body. And we believe we have a good faith basis to ask Travis McMichael, did you in fact say that? Based on
The
knowledge
testimony of
that
the
we have,
officer.
that we have a co-defendant who's seated here. Now, of course, we can't let them, meaning the jury, know that that's where that comes from. Obviously, we would not present that.
Yeah, we got a lot
unless
to
and
go
until
over
Mr.
because
Bryan,
I figured out why
take the
people
stand.
are so confused
At
in
this
this
point in
case.
time,
So confused in this case, and I
the
gotta.
state has no idea if Mr. Bryan's going to take the stand, because while defense counsel for Mr. Travis McMichael and Greg McMichael have said, oh, it's our understanding. Well, Judge, the state's in the position, of course, of Mr. Bryan going, hey, I've now made my decision. I'm going to take the stand. Am I then going to be allowed to recall Travis McMichael to the stand? Because as you know, there'll be an objection to hearsay, and it won't be a prior consistent or inconsistent statement because I didn't get a chance to bring it to his attention. So the state kind of feels like it's being boxed in, because unless the court's going to say, well, Ms. Nikoski, you can recall Travis McMichael and you can ask him about this and bring it to his attention, so that when Mr. Bryan does testify, that won't come in, that will be able to come in as without objection based on hearsay, because it's a prior consistent and or inconsistent statement.
So right now, so everybody
It's like
understands,
clear on
they're
how
fighting
it's
over
being
the
handled.
N-word.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, the only suggestion I would have is if Mr. Bryan wishes at this time to announce his intentions, then that might give some guidance to the court.
Because he's like,
that the court-
I want
the
them all to
state is asking,
testify. Who's
based on
testifying?
its good faith basis, to be allowed to ask Travis McMichael whether he said that or not. And that's our request.
So
But I
did he
wanna let
say
the
the
court know
N-word?
that the best we could find in the state of Georgia all had to do with the state's good faith basis, or the defense's good faith basis, in asking character witnesses about prior acts.
This one,
of the
I usually
person
know,
that
guys.
they're
I usually
vouching
know,
for.
but
Thank
this
you.
one, I don't know. Is it relevant? Is it not
There are-
relevant?
Cases in Georgia, in the state court of Georgia, that do answer this question. And the good faith basis is only one of three prongs. The second prong is it has to be a reliable source of information. And
The
third
defense
prong
lawyer
is
says they don't want
it
the
has to be
N-word to come in.
admissible. And if Mr. Bryan doesn't testify, it's not.
The shooter
admissible.
is
That's
testifying
like
right now.
Clark
He's about to testify.
v.
We're waiting for him to
State,
take the stand. They
uh,
just, the prosecutor,
46 Georgia
so everybody
Appeals
understands, the
106,
prosecutor's going to ask him,
confirmed by the Georgia
did you
Supreme
say
Court
the
at
N-word?
258 Georgia 464.
and the defense attorney
That is
says they don't want that
cross-examination
question
of
to
a
be
character
asked.
witness,
They know he said it,
in
but
which
they
the
don't want
district attorney
that
did not
question to be
have,
asked.
Admissible evidence to prove the
Just
underlying
mentioned it.
question. Also,
Why is
Thompson
this
v. State
statement
265
of the past
Georgia
a part
677,
a party opponent of a party opponent
and a case
is
a
it
little
prejudicial?
bit off point
But let the
involving
defendant
statements
explain
made in
himself.
opening statements
Because
that were
it's
not,
character.
proven by admissible
Just
evidence.
mention it.
Alexander v.
Why is it a
State
statement?
270
It may be
Georgia
it's not a party opponent admission because they're talking about
346.
both relevancy and character evidence, right?
We're not saying
So-
that Ms. Donikoski doesn't have a good faith basis.
So
for
they're
asking
saying
the
she has a good
question
faith
given,
basis, but they're not saying
the
is it
information we
relevant?
have. However,
and
unless Mr. Bryan testifies, it is a Bruton issue and it's not admissible. And if Ms. Bryan does testify, she could ask him about it. And she could ask him about Travis McMichael's statements at the time that he alleged to, at the time of the alleged
so
incident.
Travis McMichael said it.
And
The other defendant,
prove-
Bryant, told the
prove
police he said it. So what she's saying is that I get to ask
the
Travis
underlying
McMichael, did you say
question
this?
through either Mr. Bryan or Jason Seacrest. Your Honor, we would also ask the court to consider that the statement itself is not reliable. So although good faith basis for asking it's not admissible, it's also not reliable.
Because it's hearsay.
Mr. Bryan was 90 feet away from Mr. Arbery and Mr. McMichael at the time he claims to have heard that statement. He didn't say anything to any police officer, law enforcement, either state or federal, until his fourth interview, where he's clearly at that
Shit.
point seeking to become a witness for the state. As we know through Mr. Goff's cross-examination of Officer Seacrest. He also told the officers on the scene, and I believe it was Officer Minshew, who asked him,
What did he
did
tell
you
him?
hear anything? And all Mr. Bryan said at that point was, I heard stop, stop, stop. Did you hear anything else? No, that's all I heard. That's a statement of Mr. Bryan on the scene on February 23rd. The statement, Mr. Bryan's statement to Agent Seacrest is also contradicted by the 911 call by Greg McMichael. He makes the call at the time of the shooting and the line is left open for approximately 5 minutes. The phone is much closer to Travis McMichael and Mr. Arbery then Mr. Bryan was 90 feet away and nothing is heard on the phone, even with audio enhancement by the state. Nothing on video. Mr. Bryan's video or any other video. Officer Minshew never heard anything. Daniel Alcott, who was a neighbor, has not been called as a witness, but we all have his statements. He claims to have heard the shots, rushed to the front of the house. There's nothing in his statement to support having heard anything said by Travis McMichael. And so for those reasons, we don't think the statement is reliable. We know it's not admissible at this point, and we would ask the court to prevent the state from asking Travis McMichael about it, because once she asked the question, despite the court's admonitions, it's a bell that can't be unrung.
Can she ask him, did you say the N-word?
I'm looking at this from the perspective of Mr. Bryan, who sometimes I think gets lost in the back and forth. Your Honor, I think I could safely assure the court that unless he's forced to, Mr. Bryan has no intention of testifying at the trial of this case. If the state wants the testimony of Mr. Bryan, they can dismiss the indictment in this case against him with prejudice as to all counts. Then there'd be something to talk about.
He's not
Mr.
testifying.
Bryan, as we stand here, subject to reconsider, has no intention of this time to testify. I'm concerned, however, very greatly because of the spillover effect of this issue before the court. I'll just leave it at that. As I understand it, the state wants to ask another witness what my client said, something that would be highly incendiary. And at that point, the state is going to be violating Mr. Bryan's right under the Fifth Amendment not to testify.
He's not
What
testifying.
meaningful protection against self-incrimination does Mr. Bryan have left if the state uses the pretext of a good faith question, only the first of the three steps, to essentially compel Mr. Bryan to testify? It's a violation of Mr. Bryan's Fifth Amendment rights to
What?
allow the state to go into that.
What's he talking about?
Also, to the
How is
point
this a
that
violation
I
of his Fifth Amendment
mentioned,
privilege?
and,
It's a
you
party
know, I
upon
guess I'm
admission
gonna be the crazy
through
person,
hearsay.
but
He
I
said
think
something
you're
at the
one
scene.
who
He's
observes
not
it.
testifying.
How does Mr. Bryan's position not end up antagonistic to that of the McMichael defendants if the state is allowed to pursue that line of questioning prior to Mr. Bryan making an election to testify? There's an
You
inevitable
can't have it both ways. You
spillover
can't say
of
he's not
this
going to
prejudice
testify,
issue
but then you
to
can say he's
Mr. Bryan.
testifying.
So if the state wants to go down this road, I guess it'll be a long night of research for the Bryan defense team as to whether or not, as a matter of law, much less within the court's discretion, we would be entitled to a severance from this trial.
So he said he'd sever the trial if you ask him the question.
I'm going to take a look at the cases that are out there. The starting point, it sounds like, is that Mr. Bryan is not going to be testifying.
Okay.
So with that as a starting point, I'll go ahead and take a look at the cases and see where they lead me. But I'm not going to, particularly with this issue and what we're talking about here, I'm not just going to give everybody an answer based on cases that were just cited to the court. But there will be an answer before Mr. McMichael steps down. Anything further from the state before we proceed?
No, Judge, that was it. Thank you.
Again, Travis McMichael,
No, Your Honor.
and Greg McMichael, and for Mr. Bryan.
Yes, Your Honor. This morning, we have filed our third motion to prohibit any further conduct that may intimidate or influence jurors. and
What are we
otherwise
doing
interfere with
again?
defendant Bryan receiving a fair trial.
This guy, we're talking about black pastors again?
Two or three, I've lost count, oral motions in the previous written motion in this case. We have specifically brought additional persuasive authority to the attention of the court. And I'm certainly not going to read through all that, but I think
got
it's
you
fair
on
to
civil.
say if the jurist is distinguished as Thomas Penfield Jackson, the author, among other cases, of the Microsoft antitrust verdict, arguably one of the most important cases of the last century.
It's just
Thomas
crazy.
Penfield Jackson summarily.
He's talking about antitrust case.
The founder of the Nation of Islam, Minister Louis Farrakhan, from the public gallery at that trial. A man, a minister of equal status, equal stature, I would submit to Reverend Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson.
Oh my
That public
God.
gallery. That is referenced not only in the Washington Post newspaper article dated June 29, 1990.
Hey, welcome to the stream. Uncivil law.
Concerned citizen.
It was for the week.
Kind enough to bring it to my attention.
Oh my God.
And a copy of the
We're about to
decision
get
was
ready
reported
for
to
the
results of the District of
bombs to be
Columbia Circuit,
thrown.
rejecting,
Hey, listen,
among other things,
right now what we're
the
doing, just so
very
you know,
challenge
you
of
caught up.
summary exclusion
First it was whether they could.
That's
The
attached to
the
Exhibit
prosecution
C.
wanted to ask
That was
the
an issue
defendant
as
who's
to
on the
whether
stand
court's summary
about whether he
decision
said the
without
N-word or
limiting
not
argument
over the dead
to
body.
exclude him from the
They're going to
courtroom
take that
could be a
into
basis for
consideration.
disqualification,
And now
and it was not.
the attorney for
That
Bryant,
would
the guy who was
remind
also
Your Honor
chasing,
that
he's asking for a mistrial
decision
because he said that
made
there's too many,
in that
essentially
case
there's too many
in
black pastors
1990
and stuff
in a
influencing the
nationally
jury.
watched
He says it's
trial
too much
predates
influence. So
the most recent
I heard
Supreme
something
Court
about
case,
Farrakhan
Muslim,
as far as I
which
got to that.
one
Yeah.
judge said
he's got a
there
case about
isn't any First
Microsoft
Amendment
that
claim.
because
The other
Farrakhan was
judge
in the
doesn't rule it
so
out.
he's saying because they
Says it's
kicked Farrakhan out of
clearly
this trial
less than obvious.
in the past, they
Certainly
should be
following
kicking
the
out
Muslim decision,
Jesse Jackson
this court is
and
well within its
what's
Why
his-
was
discretion
Farrakhan
to
in the
exclude
courtroom
Reverend
regarding an
Sharpton
antitrust
and
issue with
Reverend Jackson
Microsoft?
unless and until
I don't know.
they can make some showing for the
I assume this is going to be
as to
denied.
what their relationship is to the victim's family as pastors that would authorize them.
So they got so now he wants them to
Of course, that
show
gets us into all kind of stuff
how they are
because of how many
pastors.
the Arbery family has. But I'm simply suggesting the
You want
court
them to
doesn't
show
even
how they're
need to do
pastors?
that.
Isn't that a First Amendment
Under the
issue?
precedent of the
Not only how they're
Second Degree
pastors,
Crime
how they're her
1990
pastor.
And subsequent and
What is he
previous Supreme
doing?
Court cases and other
I don't
precedent,
understand.
the court is authorized to exclude Reverend Sharpton. and
Now,
Reverend
can I go
Jackson
back to
from the
asking
courtroom
questions about
without a
this
hearing, and the
N-word issue?
alternative,
Yeah, go
certainly,
ahead.
entitled to do
So I don't
afterwards.
100% understand the
And again, in
problem.
there for the other
All right,
reasons
so the
cited, I've asked
problem
the
is
court
that
again to take more
Bryant, one of the
robust steps
defendants, Bryant,
to ensure,
told police
Mr. Bryan's right to a
that
fair trial.
the other that McMichael's
Addressed all
said the
points I
N-word
raised in my motion.
over the
Okay.
body. So the people were saying, I'm going to ask McMichael's if he said it. So
Okay.
Bryan is saying that that's unfair to they're saying well it's irrelevant, and on top of that it's prejudicial because
Court's already
Bryant
ruled on the motion.
Bryant has to say he said it, right?
Looking
It's
at
all
the
this
gallery,
hearsay
I
and
don't
stuff.
even
So
see
so
the two
essentially they're saying it's
individuals
just
that,
too much. It's too much.
Mr.
It's too
you
prejudicial. So the judge is saying he's going to take it under advisement
issues
whether
and
it'll come in,
court
whether it's relevant, whether it's going to come in, and whether
this
it's
morning,
you can avoid the
based on
hearsay issue.
motion, the
They're
court's
being
decision
charged with
is correct.
conspiracy, aren't they?
No,
I understand we're ready.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
acting in concert.
Is that different?
Yeah, conspiracies mean you got the plan and all this stuff. Acting in concert, these people, he just
Yes,
jumped in his
thank
car and then
Let's get Mr.
helped them.
McMichael on the
So
stand.
he's one of so he's not a co-conspirator. He's like they were acting together. So they didn't plan it.
That's why I
That's
have
essentially what it is.
well-qualified bailiffs around, just to make sure we don't do something like that.
I don't know that it's hearsay because
It's
first
a
of
party
all, I'm
opponent
not-
admission.
Well, more to the point, I'm not even sure I'm offering it for its truth.
Mr. McMichael, I remind you that you're under oath.
I mean, I'm not saying that what he said is true
Let's
or
go again.
not. It's just, yeah, did you hear that or not?
No, did he say it? Remember, she was going to ask this. This is the witness. She was going to ask, "Did you say it?"
Oh, did you say it?
Yeah,
Oh, that's not hearsay. It's not hearsay if he said it.
that's what I'm saying. But the hearsay piece comes in because Bryant said he said it. So that's it's a weird little thing, but we'll see. The judge said he's going to take it under advisement and see if it comes out, if he's going to lay it out.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the hearsay issue, but maybe I'm too tired.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either, but that was one of the things that were thrown out. So
I do like the power strip of death, though. That's cool.
Yesterday, she but essentially, right now, she's gonna go. She's really trying to attack the fact, was he making a citizen's arrest, and was he making it under Georgia standards, the standards under Georgia law? So that's where they're going. And if she can get him to say that they didn't have probable cause, or probable cause didn't exist, then they're good. Then that's it. They're legally done. They weren't authorized to arrest him. So that's where we're going down to now. He did a good job on direct yesterday, but the cross yesterday was getting kind of contentious. She cut it off. So now they got a full day of cross. I'm assuming she's going to cross the shit out of him this morning. This is where the fight's going to be. She's ready too. You see, arms crossed. She's like, I can't wait. Get this motherfucker back on the stand. Let's do it. You think the Rittenhouse holdouts are gonna turn today or what?
I think by the end of the day, we're going to get either a verdict or someone's going to send a motion saying we're deadlocked.
Deadlocked.
Yeah.
On a case with such great facts, how can you be fucking deadlocked? Great
Karen.
facts for Rittenhouse.
It's
Yeah.
always Karen.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Let everybody get settled in for just a moment.
Here's the fucking bombs about to be thrown.
Get everybody settled. Again, welcome back. Hopefully everybody had a good evening. We
Now,
are
so
ready to go
everyone,
ahead and proceed
so
with the
everyone
evidence in this case.
understands this is cross-examination. So the witness is a prop. The person who's testifying is going to be the attorney.
Mr. McMichael,
He's just going to be able
I'm
to say
actually
yes or
gonna
no.
hand you back your transcript.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so there you go. Mhm. Now, when you were transported from the scene to the police station, you began your interview with Detective Nohilly at approximately 3:12 in the afternoon. Is that right?
Oh yeah, we know that. We know that. That's just media narrative.
All right. And it ended.
Thank you so much for that.
5:30. Is that right?
Sounds right.
Okay, so this was like about 2.5 hours of an interview.
Sounds great. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the interview began 2 hours after the shooting.
Yes.
And you recall that during that time frame, they gave you an hour to write up 3 pages about what happened.
Yes.
Right. And
I'm going to switch to stream.
So far, this is like what a cross looks like.
Yeah.
Leading questions. Wow. Remember? You remember leading questions?
Oh yeah.
that you said
Okay.
yesterday
Hopefully that's better audio.
was that you thought first that Mr. Arbery, the man you'd seen on February 11th, may be the one who had run by.
Yes.
And then you said that you thought maybe Matt had seen him.
That's correct.
And Matt is Mr. Albenze?
Yes.
And then you said he may have broken in.
Correct.
He may have broken in. So she's going down to why did he stop or chase Arbery? He may have broken in. He may be the guy.
And then you said maybe Larry English is over on his property.
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
And later you indicated that you thought that maybe Mr. Arbery had been caught.
Yes.
And then you said that you thought maybe he was trying to get away from the police.
Yes, ma'am.
But you hadn't heard any sirens or anything in the neighborhood.
Not yet. No, ma'am.
So he's just saying yes, like a prop. Yes.
She knows the answers to the questions.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about some of the legal terms that you used yesterday, okay? All right, so first I want to talk to you kind of about probable cause, all right? And you testified yesterday that you'd been trained in the military for the Coast Guard, that even when you had arrest powers, before you could arrest somebody, you needed probable cause, correct?
That's correct.
All right, and you even gave the jury the definition of probable cause, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you said it was a level of suspicion by a reasonable and prudent person, given the overall circumstances, to believe a crime has been committed.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. But that's really only half the definition, isn't it?
That's what I was taught in my training, was that definition right there.
So isn't it correct that, let me ask it this way. Didn't you learn from your training that you need 2 parts?
Reasonable suspicion first, and then probable cause.
So Isn't it true from your training that you need two parts of probable cause? You need probable cause that a crime has actually been committed, and that
She's
the
got the manual.
person you're arresting
He's got his
is the
training
one
manual.
who committed the crime.
That would be correct.
All right.
Boom.
But
That's
you
so,
left out the second
that's-
part, that you actually have to have probable cause that the person you're arresting is actually the one committing the crime.
That makes sense. I mean,
boom.
that was the person that I assumed that was committing the crime. That was the probable cause was him.
So you gotta have a crime, and you gotta be sure the person committed that crime. That's probable cause.
He said the word assumed. I wonder if she's going to land on that.
Of course she's gonna go into, because you know what probable cause is. Let's see if you have probable cause in this case, and she's gonna break it down.
So you assumed he was the one committing the crime.
Yes.
There it is.
All right, so you'd agree that as law enforcement, when you were there in the military as a boarding officer, that even if you know a crime is committed, when you have several suspects, you can't just go and arrest the first suspect. You have to actually have evidence that that person is one who committed that crime, correct?
That's correct. And I believe I had it with the videos that I've seen with him, with Mr. Arbery being the one that has been there multiple times. And then what I witnessed on the 11th with him sneaking through those yards or through that yard. And then the way that he reacted to me when I put the lights on him, reacted like he was going for a gun, and then went into that house after we had our altercation. And then Mr. Albenzi being there that same evening and verified that that on the video is the same guy that he's seen. And then seeing Mr. Albenzi pointing down the road led to probable cause. And then Dad saying that was the same individual, the probable cause that it is the same guy that has been in that house that's been breaking into and stuff has been stolen. So the overall, the totality of everything led me to go down there and see if that was him.
So the totality of all of that led you to go see if that was him.
That's the kicker,
Yes.
because she didn't know.
See on the 11th.
To see if that was him. That's what she wrote that down.
All right, so you used the word totality of the circumstances a whole bunch here, haven't you?
Yes, I guess. Yes.
All right. So let's go ahead and back up for a second. You had your gun stolen, correct?
I did.
On January 1st, 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a suspect in mind for that theft of that gun, correct?
Yes, when I got the videos from Mr. Perez, Diego, looking through, there was a truck that came through that I haven't seen in the neighborhood before. And after looking at the truck, I thought that it might have been some teenagers that I would see on that part of the county. And it turned out that it was a neighbor on the other side. And then that was as far as I went with that.
Who's David Sorrells?
I have no idea.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
He's not a Facebook friend of yours?
That I believe.
Would it help to refresh your recollection if you looked at some of your Facebook posts that you shared with Mr. Sorrells?
We're going into
All
Facebook.
right, go ahead and take a look at it.
You don't know, but you're on Facebook with him. Where's she going with this?
I don't know, but would it help to refresh your recollection if you looked at this? It's classic
Impeachment, yeah.
impeachment. She's a competent lawyer. It's amazing.
So night and day from the Rittenhouse trial, though.
Shit, no, I mean, really. It's like, Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry, we're still here.
That flustered him a little bit. He's looking a little red. Yeah, that got him a little bit. What the hell's in those posts? He's like, yeah, it's...
Yeah.
gonna take a look at the
The highlighted portion.
yellow highlighted part.
She gonna have him read it?
Yeah, I recognize it.
All right, do you know who David Sorrells is?
I do not. He must have been on the neighborhood page. I do remember the message now, and I believe he must saw it on the neighborhood Facebook page.
All right, so on January 1st, he says he's sorry about your gun being stolen out of your car. Is that right?
Yes, that's what he wrote.
All right, and then you indicated that you had a pretty good feeling about who stole it,
Yes, ma'am.
and you found out where he lived. Is that correct?
Yes,
And you've been watching him for several days.
yes.
That was not Mr. Arbery.
No, that was the truck I was telling you about.
That's big
And you
because
then
remember they
indicated
said that's
that
why they
this
thought
may be
Arbery
the
was
same
armed,
individual who has been causing trouble in the neighborhood.
Yes, ma'am.
and that was not Mr. Arbery.
But that's not Mr. Arbery.
No, ma'am.
Damn.
So why,
So the gun. So now,
in your written statement
uh-oh.
to
Uh-oh.
the homicide, do you put down the very first sentence? On January 1st of 2020, approximately between 9 and 10:30, I had my vehicle broken into and my Smith & Wesson gun stolen out of my truck.
Because I was aware of things of
Woo!
burglaries and vehicles being broken into the neighborhood. And then on top of seeing what I saw on the 11th, that there are things being broken into. I was under
But
concern
it had nothing to
that
do with Arbery.
Mr. Arbery could be a suspect in this, or he could not be. But like I said prior, he is the one that I have seen, and he is the one that has been in that house several times. So of course I'm thinking he's a suspect. But I don't know if it was him or the other people that they've seen or if I've heard about.
A suspect. A suspect is a long way from probable cause, my friend.
Yeah, it's a long way. Suspects aren't probable cause, people. Oof. See, don't forget, the reason why they thought Arbery was armed was because he said that his gun was stolen. But now he's on the stand saying that, hey, it wasn't Arbery. He doesn't believe it was Arbery. It was somebody else. So that takes away that whole gun thing.
So given you don't know who stole your gun, there was no probable cause to arrest Mr. Arbery for the theft of your handgun on January 1st, 2020.
No, ma'am.
You also didn't know who had stolen the items out of the boat, Mr. Larry English's boat, did you?
No, but I had a probability. I was thinking that the probability of who was doing that was the one that continued to go into this house, that has been caught in this house several times, which was Mr. Arbery.
But you had no evidence he'd ever taken anything off of Mr. English's boat.
Other than that there's been stuff stolen out of that house and that he has been in that house several times.
So you have
This all theater, people. The whole
stolen
writing
items
down everything,
on
right?
the boat.
This is all
It's
theater.
You got that from
I
your
don't
mom.
think it's for me, but
Yes.
it's working for her.
Yeah, it's all theater. Let me
And
write
then you
exactly what he
got-
says.
Him inside the construction site, right? Inside 220.
Yes, ma'am.
And at the point in time on February 23rd, you knew about October 25th,
Yes.
November 18th,
Yes.
and February 11th.
Yes.
You also knew that the white couple had gone in on November 17th, right?
I did.
You also knew that there was a shady-looking guy under the bridge, correct?
I did.
Oh, so that's how she's destroying probable cause. Look at all these people. Look at all these people going inside there.
Lots of suspects.
Lots of suspects. Where's the probable cause?
And you also suspected this guy in the neighborhood
Yeah, that's true.
with the truck may have been the one who stole your handgun. He might have also been someone who was stealing things in the neighborhood, as you said to Mr. Sorrells, right?
And for a couple of days, they decided that that was not him. Or was not the
Yes.
person
Yeah.
that had the truck that I thought it was a different truck. So that's not.
Is that Rob Wet?
Listen, guys, we
Don't
just
make it
getting
up,
started. It's hot
So Kim
already.
Ballesteros didn't tell you that she suspected
We
Is
like
it time
five
for my
minutes.
break? Is it time for my break
in the
yet?
neighborhood as being the one who stole her purse out of her car January 30th.
Not that I recall, no ma'am.
Yeah, this is getting tough already.
And you're telling this jury that your mother never told you that Larry English suspected his contractors.
No ma'am.
But Larry English did suspect his contractors. He said he didn't know that.
All right, so about February 11th, I want to make sure yesterday, when you testified, did you testify that Mr. Arbery actually came toward you and started lifting up his shirt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you never said that before to anyone, did you?
I put it in the statement.
The statement, your handwritten statement?
The written statement, I believe I did.
She's gonna go get the statement. Let's get the statement and see what you said, brother.
Let me hand you a copy of your handwritten statement.
If it's not in that statement, you said it's in there.
Sorry, that Mark, you did it.
Is it going to be in that statement? What do you think?
Nope.
Is it going to be in that statement, guys? Let's see what the chat thinks. Do you think it's the state? It's in there? People keep saying he grabbed his weapon and attacked him. I love how people just think that you could just chase someone down, point a gun at them, and if they try to grab your weapon, you can just shoot them. That's self-defense.
Right, so in your statement, you indicated that
No, it doesn't
I
work
was
that
getting out of
way.
my car to ask him what he was doing,
This is a written statement?
correct?
Okay.
And he turned toward my vehicle and reached into his pants, which led me to think that he may have a weapon.
Yes, ma'am.
He said it.
He said it a couple times at this point, though. And we're what are we? 15 minutes
Right
into this?
back to his
20?
pants?
Yeah,
No.
about 15 minutes in.
That's,
Yeah, Lord.
What's he
And
doing?
then you indicated I immediately put my car in reverse and the individual went into the house under construction, correct?
He's grabbing his pants.
And that was, oh, all right, can everybody see now? Okay.
Jurors want to see it. Yeah, listen, I'm a 2A guy, people. You can't chase people down, point guns at them, and if they try to grab your weapon, shoot them. That's not how it works. I'm sorry. No.
And that was
You have to
the
have a
publishing
legal
of
right
State's
to
Exhibit
stop them. You have a
120,
legal right to
the
point your
video
gun at
clip
them.
entitled Video MP4.
You are not privileged to just kill people after chasing them down and pointing guns at them. How is this such a hard concept for people to understand? Right?
I don't know.
give a damn. I don't give a damn if he's white, black, yellow, red, whatever. It doesn't give a. You can't chase people down, point guns at them. If they grab for the
It
gun,
is,
you don't.
yes, ma'am.
Self-defense. Doesn't work. I'm sorry. I hope race isn't playing a role into white people thinking about this. Yeah, he was a bad guy. I agree with that, but that doesn't mean you could chase him
People
down.
keep
And
trying to squeeze it so hard into the statute.
it's like-
It's hard to include anything other than race sometimes.
yeah,
Not my first conclusion, that's for damn sure, but
that's what this whole trial is about. Did they have the legal authority to stop someone on the street, point guns at them, to arrest them? Did they have that? If they don't have that authority, that's what this trial is about, then they've committed murder. Just saying that, yeah, he lunged for the gun means nothing.
Now right here,
It's like going to a bank robbery and the guard lunged for the robber's gun and he got shot. Oh, he lunged for my gun so I can just gun him down. No, wrong answer. You can't just gun him down.
you can't.
Mr. Arbery have anything in his hand?
Sure.
Not I could see, no ma'am.
Have a backpack with him?
He did not.
Any sort of bag with him?
Not at that time, no.
He's wearing a big long T-shirt, isn't he?
Yes,
And shorts cut off at the knees.
I think they were cargo shorts, but yes,
And he's got running shoes on.
I can't tell.
I can't tell either, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't tell anything.
You see the Nike logo swoosh in the reflection?
No, ma'am.
I'll back it up for you.
No, you can't do a provocation defense because they're not alleging
See that?
provocation. They're not saying he did something that caused that provoked them.
That was State's Exhibit 117.
What they're saying is that they were trying to effectuate a lawful citizen's arrest. That's their defense. So provocation doesn't work. If Arbery pointed a gun at them or something like that, you may have provocation, but they don't even say. As a matter of fact, they only saw him running, so you don't have provocation. This is Rittenhouse reverse.
Now,
Arbery
that
is being
particular
chased.
evening,
Rittenhouse is being
you've seen
chased.
the body cam video of Officer Rash, is that correct?
Largely, in some
Yes,
ways.
ma'am.
And Officer
Yes.
Rash
Arbery has a
told
legal
you
right to self-defense.
and told your father that Larry English said Mr. Arbery had never taken or stolen anything from the open unsecured
This is
construction
big.
site.
This is
correct?
big.
My understanding was never saw him take anything from there. Yes, ma'am. Never saw anything taken.
Okay. And Larry English actually had never had anything stolen from the open unsecured construction site.
Yes, he had stuff stolen out of his boat that was inside that house. Yes, ma'am.
But you didn't investigate that crime as a law enforcement officer, correct?
No, ma'am.
Because you weren't a law enforcement officer, were you?
That's correct.
All right. And your father wasn't a law enforcement officer either.
He was not.
Okay. So you're basing your probable cause on something that was rumor that your mother told you about things being stolen off the boat.
I was basing it on the 11th for seeing him in there again and hearing that the stuff was stolen off of that boat, and then hearing it from the other neighbors.
Something that
and
your
then
mother
from
told you.
Seeing on the 11th. So yes, it happened. And then seeing
Everything
him
my
come in
mom says
multiple
is
times,
gospel.
but then
That's right. She told me I got
everything
probable
that followed
cause.
up on the 23rd. Yes,
You were here when Officer Rash testified, is that right?
I was.
Okay. And you heard Officer Rash, under cross-examination, answer the defense attorney's question about if Mr. Larry English had filed a police report about items stolen off of his boat, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
Not here since
And
his testimony that was
he said
adduced.
the officer assigned would have investigated it, right?
yes,
All right. And that means interviewing Larry English, correct?
yes.
And so an officer who's investigating the theft of items off the boat would have found out from Larry English
Perfect.
that the boat had been moved back and forth to Douglas, correct?
Objection, speculation now? She's asking him about, to assume what Officer Rash would have done had he been asked
But
to
he
make
has
a
the background
report
experience
about
to be
theft
able to
by
offer
Larry
an opinion.
English, and then how
How
he
about
would
that?
follow up on that. This is all speculation on the witness's part.
Speculating that's what Rash would have done. That's the same.
I'll ask a better question, Ron. On cross-examination, do you remember Officer Rash testifying that the officer assigned, if Mr. English had filed a report, would have investigated that?
Yes,
Okay. And that Officer Rash, you heard him testify that that would have included interviewing Larry English, correct?
yes,
All right. And you heard Larry English testify that the boat had been moved back and forth between Douglas, correct?
he learned that. Yes.
Well, he didn't learn that. He knew it. He'd moved the boat back and forth, right?
You talking about Rash or
Relevance
English?
is, I object. I'm not sure what the relevance is about asking him what he heard people testify in court that he didn't
You
know
always point out that
with
the
his own
opportunity to
personal
confirm
knowledge
testimony.
Yeah,
on
just-
particular
you point out-
dates.
point
Hearing
out.
what people
Supreme
later
Court
come and
ruled on that
testify about in court is asking him to comment on the testimony.
Yeah,
before the
people
jury.
think that they
Doesn't
should
seem
have the
to
right
be
to
a
stop
relevant
people and
what
point
he
guns
did
and
what he
blow them
knew at
away.
particular times, I think, sure.
I don't understand
But
it.
what they testify about in
I don't
court,
want a
how
gun pointed
that
at me though.
may change his thoughts about dates in the
Even if I
past
am robbing
doesn't
things,
appear
not
to be
really that much.
Yes, that's a very good take. Hunter's right. I think you might have a reverse
So
provocation
overruled. Go
defense.
ahead.
Overruled. So he's got to answer this
And you
one.
heard Larry English testify that he suspected his subcontractors,
Not at that time.
yes?
That
That Larry English suspected his subcontractors of having stolen the items off of his boat. You heard him testify to that.
here, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you heard him testify that he told that to Officer Rash.
Yes,
And you heard Officer Rash testify that he told that to your father.
yes.
Wow. That's damning. That's damning stuff.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about
Guilty.
what was happening on February 23rd, 2020.
I mean, this is kind of how I practiced it in trial ad, right? I mean, this is,
So you personally first saw Ahmaud Arbery as he was running ahead of you on Burford.
That's correct.
Okay. And you were driving behind him in the white F-150 pickup truck.
She's
Yes, ma'am.
destroyed his probable
All right.
cause, though.
And at that time, when you first saw him, he didn't have a bag, did he?
No, ma'am.
Didn't have a backpack.
He did not.
Wasn't carrying a box.
Was it?
Okay. And
He didn't
you
steal
could see his
anything.
hands as he ran.
Yes.
And you could see that he was wearing the cargo shorts and the t-shirt.
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't know who he was. I mean, you didn't know him personally.
I didn't know him personally. No, ma'am.
Okay. You didn't know his name.
No, ma'am.
All right. Didn't know anything about him.
Nothing.
He didn't know you.
Not that I'm aware of.
You just knew that he was the guy who was on video at the open unsecured construction site.
That I saw on the 11th.
And at this point in time, when you first see him on Burford, he's not reaching into his pockets.
No, ma'am. Not running. No, ma'am.
And he never yelled at you guys,
No, ma'am.
never threatened you at all,
No, ma'am. Not
never brandished any weapons.
Sorry, Your Honor, he's trying to finish his answer.
Yeah, he did not threaten me verbally. No, ma'am.
All right. Didn't brandish any weapons.
No, ma'am.
Didn't pull out any guns.
Just no,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Didn't pull out any knife.
No, ma'am.
Mm.
Never reached for anything, did he?
No.
He just ran.
Yes, he was just running.
So
How does that give
at
you
this
probable
point in time,
cause?
You catch up to him on Burford by pulling up next to him. Is that right?
Yes, pulling alongside, keeping with my window right there. I did.
So as he's running down the street, say this is the street, he's on this side of the road, consistent with someone driving.
You don't know
forward,
what
or
you're
is he on
talking
that side of
about.
the road
Stop
in the
spreading
oncoming
false
traffic?
information. This is
Oncoming
fake
traffic.
news.
Okay. So
They've
he's
already
on the
established.
side
Everybody admits in this trial they need
oncoming
probable
traffic.
cause.
That's correct.
Stop
All
spreading
right, so
fake
you pull
news.
up next to him. Is that right?
Yes.
You startled him.
No.
Are you a mind reader?
I'm not, but I could see his actions, the way that he didn't veer, he didn't run off. I
fair.
came up to him slowly, just like I would anybody else, and I've never startled anybody doing that before. Anybody walking or jogging or running. I've never had anybody become startled on that, so I
How
don't know why
many-
it would be.
Wants to take
Sorry,
a
I
shot.
didn't cut you off. How many times have you pulled up on strangers that you don't know next to them with a pickup truck to ask them what they're doing in your neighborhood?
I don't think I have in that situation, but I have pulled up on people that are running behind, coming up behind them.
How many times you pulled
I
up
mean, if
on
you would be
people you don't
startled
know
with somebody
running?
coming up behind you is one thing or the other. You can tell if somebody is, but I didn't startle him. I didn't come up on him hard or fast or blowing the horn or anything. I just pulled alongside him on my side of the road, right at the yellow line. And once he acknowledged me and saw that I was there, is when I came a little closer and stayed with him.
Damn.
So he's running, you pull up, he looks at you, and you say to him, what?
I say, hey, what's going on? Hold on a second.
Now
And
he
he didn't
does.
say anything back to you.
No, ma'am.
All right. He just kept running.
He stopped and turned and went backwards. That was the first time. That was the
Absolutely
one
not.
caught on Mr. Roddie's or Mr. Bryan's video. Was the
This isn't illegal. Pulling up to somebody asking what they're doing is not illegal. He had the legal right to do
Okay,
it,
so hold on.
and Arbery had a legal
You
right
pull
not
up
to
next
answer.
him, He stops, and then he turns and starts running this way, back down Burford towards Satilla.
Yes,
And then you back up. Is that right?
I did.
So you back up the truck to follow him, and At some point in time, what do you say to him? At that point?
I'm asking him, what are you doing? You know, what's going on? What happened down there? Why is there some, you know, I ask him why somebody pointing down the road. As I'm talking, that's when he turns and runs back down.
Oh, I'm just stopping it for one thing.
Hmm.
Link, I'm sorry. Stop. If you're going to be here, stop spreading fake news, right? The prosecutor, the defense attorney, the judge have all said to have a citizen's arrest in the state of Georgia, you need probable cause. That's the reason why she's asking him. That's the reason why he said on the stand yesterday he had probable cause. So to continue to say that he only needed reasonable suspicion, you don't know what you're talking about, and you're making yourself look like an idiot. Everyone who's been watching us for the past week has known this, right? We have the case law. We have the evidence. We know for a fact everyone in this trial agrees with that point. So please stop spreading fake news and lies. This is just like Rittenhouse again, where Rittenhouse was chasing Rosenbaum. We got the tape, right? That was a lie. If you're going to just spread lies, you're going to get called out here. Stop spreading lies and
Did
false
you actually
narratives.
give him the case? Did you actually give him the citation? Because if not, I'll pick it up.
Oh, all right.
I'll
I'll try to put it in the chat. I have it written down, but just so everybody knows, that's what they're talking. Literally, her whole question is about probable cause, right? You haven't even heard reasonable suspicion before their testimony. So stop spreading the false narrative. Stop spreading the lies. I'm sorry, those are lies. They need probable cause. That's why we're doing this today. I'm sorry to call you out, but you got to stop saying
somebody
it.
pointing down the road? That's what you're asking him?
That's what I was trying to get to ask him why there are people pointing down the road.
All right, Mr. McMichael, not asking for generalities and what's in your head. I want to know exactly what you were saying to the man jogging down the street. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. What exactly did you say to him the first time you pulled up?
Citizens can't detain for Terry stops.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And he turned and ran.
Fins up, baby.
Yeah, turned and then went the other direction.
Okay. And that was an indication to you that he didn't want to talk to you?
Yes.
That was an indication he was not going to stop for you?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point in time, you chose to put your truck in reverse and back up at him.
Back up along with him.
So he's trying to get away from you, doesn't want to stop, doesn't want to talk, and you're backing up to go along with him.
That's correct.
And at some point in time then, he turns to run up Burford, right?
Yes, I've asked him again, or asked him that I wanted to talk to him. I don't know exactly what I said, but it was to the effect that I want to talk to him and what happened down the road.
I want to talk to him about what happened down the road. That doesn't sound like probable cause for arrest to me. That seems like reasonable suspicion to inquire to do some more investigation.
And at this point in time, you're not wearing any sort of uniform.
No, ma'am.
You're not in a marked patrol car.
I'm not.
You don't have any badges on your sleeves.
I do not.
My grandfather was.
You told the police.
Let me listen to this first. But
You were talking to them about.
My family on my father's side is half white, and on my mother's side, we're all from Trinidad and Georgia. On my father's side, my grandfather was half white, and my grandmother was white.
Let me try to get this right.
And my father was mixed.
Do you remember telling the police? So I pull up to him and say, hey, you know what's going on? He's running. He won't stop. I said, that's him. Stop right there. I'm at the bottom of page 8, top of page 9. Stop right there. Stop where you're at. Do you remember telling the police that that's what you said?
That's what's on here. Yes, ma'am. You want me to read it?
I'm just asking you if that's what you said. You said, what's going on? He won't stop. I said, that's him. Stop right there. Stop where you're at.
It doesn't seem like just asking what he's doing. It seems like he's making an arrest.
So at this point, you're ordering him to stop. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say ordering. I was asking him.
Like, like nicely and politely, please, sir, stop?
At first, it was not, please, sir, but hey, can you stop? Please, yes, stop for a second, stop for a second. My voice inflection and tone, I was trying to keep the situation calm.
And he's saying he didn't know what he had done.
This is at the
Ordering
time
him to stop.
that he's already decided that he doesn't want anything to do with you and has run back down Burford towards Satilla.
Yes,
And then we see what happens in the night owl video. Is that right? Is that what happens next?
Brian, yes, around that time.
Define it.
Someone says, if you're up to no good, why not stop? Because
you
I don't
kidding
have
me?
because I don't have the legal right. You don't have the legal right to tell me to stop. I don't have to stop. Ma'am?
With this group of people standing in the middle of the road, yeah, we just want to talk. Are you kidding me?
That's what we're trying to find out. Yeah, I don't get this whole we can just stop people in the street and demand they stop, right? He has a legal right not to stop. He has a legal right not to say anything, right? F you, right? And walk away. So as long as he has those legal, people believe that he didn't have a legal right. He has a legal right to be there. What are we talking about?
I apologize, Your Honor. Something's not right. And I've missed it, or somehow it is not on the file anymore.
Your Honor, we have no objections to state would like a recess.
They want to get him off the stand to rest up a little bit. Say we recess.
You have all
I'll
the
answer
rest you
you.
want. You're gonna rest a lot for the next couple of years, man.
If this is not going well. I'll answer this. Nate, this is where my disagreement about the instigators of the second Red House event comes in. One gun pointed down toward police. No self-defense. Two, only probable cause is the mob shouting.
Is this what we have?
Can be heard illegal. That's a good point.
Yes.
I got to think about that,
Backing
Peter.
up.
Peter's making me think. I got to think about that, Peter.
He's running away.
You actually make a very good
Yes,
point.
ma'am.
And then, is this your truck pulling forward after him?
It is, yes, ma'am.
So at this point in time,
If this offense team with Kyle, he'd be off.
you could have just stopped, right?
I could have.
You could have just let him run, correct?
I could have, but I also wanted to make sure that everything was okay down the road and see what was happening. I wanted to ask him, at least ask him what was happening and see what
You just want
what
to
he would
ask
say
him,
and go from
which
there.
sounds like not probable cause to
Despite
me.
the fact that you know about the Fifth Amendment, you know that no one has to talk to anyone they don't want to talk to, right?
That's correct.
There it
And-
is. He says he knows that, right?
You said that you wanted to know what had happened and that you saw Matt Albenzi out in the street when you came out with your shotgun from your house, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Onyx. It's
You
good to
didn't go
see you
down and
again,
ask
brother. You
Mr.
got to
Albenzi
come
what
on the
was
channel
going on, did you?
sometimes,
I
man.
did
Thank you
not.
so much.
Okay. So at one point in time, I think you said
This
you
is
thought,
my
well,
brother
maybe somebody had been
From
hurt
another mother.
or something had been broken into, or maybe Larry English was down there, right?
That's correct.
But you didn't head that way to see what exactly had happened, did you?
I did not because Mr. Albenzi was pointing down the road. I took it as whatever happened, you need to go that way. You need to go that way. Something has happened. And then trying to ask him was to see what was happening. What happened?
Because something had happened.
Something has happened.
so.
Yeah.
At this point, right here, where he's running, you're still yelling at him, stop, I want to talk to you, stop.
No, ma'am. Once I watched him run and then pull onside him again is when I engaged with him again.
All right, so we're talking about going all the way down Burford.
No, ma'am. It was only another 100 feet from there, maybe 200 feet. There was a wooded area right where I spoke to him again.
All right, so let's take a look at this,
May I?
which I want to make sure we have the right exhibit number. So what we're looking at here on the one-up board is going to be.
Yeah, this is
State
crazy.
Exhibit
And Rittenhouse
300.
submit to
So
the.
anything
Don't, he
listed
shouldn't have
on
to
a
submit
board
to the
is
mob
State
in this
Exhibit
one.
300.
He should have submitted to the mob.
So
It
you actually
doesn't make
have
any
to
sense.
take a
I
look
agree
at
with you.
I'm going to go ahead and publish it up there so that we can go ahead and see it.
Rittenhouse doesn't have to submit to the mob, but Arbery has to submit to the mob. It's like, what?
Yeah, the difference is that Rosenbaum wasn't asking, hey, we just want to ask a question, right? He wasn't saying that. That's what turns the
Yeah.
case. Uh-huh.
I'll explain the difference between reasonable suspicion and probable cause in a
You
second,
see that on
guys.
your screen?
Yes, ma'am.
So, got the Bryan house. You said you went down here to maybe a wooded area. Is it fair to say that that wooded area is right in here?
Yes, it's right at the corner of that house or lot right there. The last open area.
Right here.
No, ma'am. Right there.
Here?
Yes.
All right. And so you chase him down here, and at this point in time, you cut him off.
No, ma'am. I'm alongside him and ask him to stop. I want to talk to him. And then after I asked him, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Hey, hold on a second. Is when he finally stopped. And I was like, okay, now we can talk. We can see what's going on. And then as soon as I said, the cops are coming, after he didn't respond to me or talk to me, and I said, hey, the police are coming. Stay right here. That's when he turned and ran the other direction.
You'd agree with me when I say that you never, ever told the Glenn County Police Department or in your written statement that you said to Mr. Arbery, the police are coming.
I don't know if I did or not. If it's not on there, then I didn't say it, but I mean, I could have missed it from everything that was happening and writing it down 2 hours later. I might have missed it, but on the assumption that they do that, because I was still under the impression that my dad has called the police. So I'm under the impression that the cops are coming.
So talking about that, I'm going to have you take a look at page number 9. Again, that last paragraph. So in your statement to Detective Nohilly, only a couple hours after the homicide of Ahmaud Arbery, you basically say he goes around the corner, comes back. He's, man, something's not right here. I tell him to stop, grab the gun out of the truck. I say, hey, stop. He runs back. Man, you call 911 yet? Find my phone, call, give it to my dad, said, call the cops, let's get the cops. So it's only after you grab your shotgun out of the truck at the corner of Holmes and Satilla that you say, hey, let's call the cops, and you hand the phone to your dad to call the cops.
That's when I found out that he did not call the police. When I realized that he has not called the police. And then
Never call the police.
So also on page 9, you never indicated that Mr. Arbery actually stopped long enough for you to have a conversation with him. Is that correct? At the top of page 9?
Yes, I do. I said, he's running, he won't stop. I said, that's him. Stop right there. Stop where you're at. Call the cops, you know. And I'm assuming, or what I'm saying there is I told him that I called the cops. There he is. He starts acting funny, and then he takes off running. So he was stopped. If he takes off running, then he was stopped at the point.
You remember yesterday telling this jury that that's what you said to your dad? Call the cops, you know, there he is. Do you remember telling this jury just yesterday that that was what you said to your dad? Call the cops, there he is. He starts acting funny, he takes off running.
I believe I said, have you called the cops yet? And then on this here is what I mentioned to the police in the interview. And reading this and knowing
This is why you should never talk to the cops, people.
how I was all over the
Yeah,
place
really,
when
right.
I was giving that statement.
Think about this. He's struggling with everything he said to the police because that's all she's hitting him with. Here's what you said to the police. Here's what you said to the police. This is why we tell you guys don't talk to the police, because when they say your statements can and will be used against you in a court of law, exhibit A right here, right?
And not only what you did say, but what you didn't say, because if you make statements later inconsistent, it's like, well, you never told the police that. It's not in your statement. Were you now making this up?
Don't talk to the police.
Don't talk to the police. It's a bad plan.
This is what I was talking about.
Because you'll be sitting here just like this guy with a bunch of papers in your hand. Didn't you say
Nowhere in
this?
here do you say that Mr. Arbery actually stopped. You said, stop right there, stop right where you're at, and he takes off running.
He takes off running.
Mm-hmm. So nowhere in here do you indicate to Detective Nohilly that he stopped long enough for you to say the police are on their way and that that's why he took off running. Nowhere in here and nowhere in your written statement is that indicated.
In those terms, saying it in that verbatim, I did not. But looking at this and how I was still under stress, still under the impact of what happened a couple hours after this, just 2 hours after.
That's why I'm telling
the
lies
shooting,
to the police.
and seeing how I was talking.
If you're explaining, you're losing, man.
Under stress, nervous, scared. I know what I was talking about here, and
this is the reason why I'm giving inconsistent statements. This is what he's talking about.
Call the cops.
Why am I lying to the police?
Call the cops. I'm probably choppy trying to talk to him, being nervous, and saying that I was saying this to Mr. Arbery, and then he takes off running. If you're running, he continued running. He takes off running. I think that's what I was talking about there.
So what were you nervous about while giving this statement?
I just killed a man. I had blood on me still. It was the most traumatic event of my life. I was scared
Quote
to death.
that.
I mean,
I
it
had
was
blood on me. Just quote that.
the most traumatic event of my life. I don't know anybody who wouldn't be scared or stressed or terrified or anything. I mean, it was horrible.
I'm talking about giving your statement 2 hours later at a police station. You were nervous because you thought you were going to jail, right?
No, I gave him a statement. I mean, if I would have,
You don't think you're going to jail, is what you're saying.
I was going through an investigation. I was following the investigation.
So you saw Officer Duggan's body cam, correct? Officer Duggan, the first officer who testified, his body cam.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You were standing right behind Officer Duggan while all that went on, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you've just shot Mr. Arbery 3 times with a shotgun, correct?
Correct.
He's dead on the scene, correct?
Correct.
He's unarmed, correct?
He was.
All right. And your father came up to you and grabbed you by the shoulders and went, you had no choice. You had no choice, right? You saw that?
Yes.
All right. You're covered in Mr. Arbery's blood. You go down to the police station, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Any idea where that?
No.
Let's keep going.
Okay. And at that point, you're in the safety of the police department giving your statement, correct?
Yes.
All right. You've got all the time in the world, correct?
Yes.
All right. And Detective Nohilly hasn't threatened you?
No.
hasn't forced you to make a statement,
He did not.
and didn't promise you anything in order to get you to make a statement.
I'm gonna look for quick. He did not.
Okay. But you're telling this jury that you're all confused and you can't get the facts straight as you're telling the police about why it was you shot and killed a man.
I was trying with my best ability, but like I said, under the circumstances of going through a traumatic event, this is the most traumatic event that I have ever been through in my life. I don't know how. I've never been through a situation like that. So the reaction, trying to go through and trying to be as factual and tell as detailed as I could, and then looking through the transcript being scattered as it was, I could tell that obviously I failed attempting to try as best I could. This is what you got. I tried, and this is what happened.
So fair to say you never told Detective Nohilly nor wrote down in your written statement that you told Mr. Arbery the police were on their way.
It seems that I attempted to say it in these words here.
And at that point, Mr. Arbery turns around and runs back down Burford to get away from you, correct?
That's correct.
So at this point in time, he's running away from you. He has not threatened you.
No.
Hasn't pulled out a gun.
No, ma'am.
Hasn't pulled out a knife.
He did not.
Still arms at his sides.
That's correct.
And he's trying to get away from you.
And I was letting him run away. Yes, ma'am.
You were letting him run away.
That's correct.
Wasn't it your intention to go around the block and cut him off and find him over on the other side?
To head him off and to see where he's located. That was my intention. Yes, ma'am.
All right. But you could have stopped right there and not done anything, right?
Yes, but then immediately after is when I saw his interaction with the black truck and realized that there is something to my suspicions here, and I would like to see where he is at when the cops come, which I assume that the police were on the way, that I would be able to tell them where he's at if they haven't located him at that point.
So you're telling this jury that your whole intention was just to go ahead and follow Mr. Arbery, keep an eye on him, and to just tell the cops there he is.
At that point, yes, ma'am.
That kills this case then. If your intention is just to follow him, then where's citizen's arrest come into? If that was his intention, then would you get citizen's arrest?
It's true that your father, while in the truck with you, going down Burford towards that end, was yelling at you, cut him off, cut him off, cut him off, right?
He was talking to me or was telling me, I don't know if he was saying cut him off or not. I know that he was saying, there he is, that's the guy. After that, I am not sure exactly what he said.
At this point, you're still yelling at Mr. Arbery to stop at the end of Burford.
I was not yelling at him on Burford, no ma'am.
And at the end of Burford, you and your dad both got out of the pickup truck, correct?
When he turned and started running down Burford, when he was away, when he was not a threat, if he wanted to be a threat and he was going past that, yeah, I got out of the truck, yes ma'am. When he turned and running away is when I got out of the vehicle.
Why in the world would Mr. Arbery be a threat to you?
Because of when I asked him what was going on and recognized that it was the guy that I saw on the 11th and Mr. Albenzi pointing and everything going down and realized that it is him. And then how he reacted when I shined the lights on him on the 11th. He acted like he did not want to be, he was obviously caught sneaking through the front yard. He was obviously where he wasn't supposed to be, where he hasn't been several times, and then he reaches into his pants like he has a gun. Then I took that as a threatening gesture. I walked in the house. Now it's the same guy on the 23rd that I've just pulled up to that turned out my father was correct. People pointing down the road, the same scene that this happened 12 days prior. That yes, there was a possibility that he may be armed with that gesture, but he didn't show me that, and he started running down the road. I was no longer under a threat if there was to be one, so I got out of the vehicle after my father got out of the vehicle to see what was going on and watch him.
Did he just say he was no longer a threat?
When you first pulled up to him, very first time, you confirmed it was him, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You testified under oath to this jury that I'm not going to chase or investigate someone who is armed, right?
That's correct.
And yet you want this jury to believe now that he was a threat to you, okay, and that you perceived him as a threat, yet you continued to chase him down Burford.
I didn't know if he was a threat or not. He never reached in his pockets, and I wanted to see what was happening. I figured I could talk to him at this point, or, getting up to him on the second point.
But hadn't at this point, he demonstrated not once, not twice, but 3 times he did not want to talk to you.
Which, when I'm at the stop, when I stop the Burford.
Right, because you pulled up to him once, he doesn't want to talk to you. You back up, he doesn't want to talk to you. You pull down Burford, your dad's yelling, cut him off. And all of a sudden, he runs back, he doesn't want to talk to you. That's 3 times he's demonstrated to you that he does not want to talk to you, correct?
Yes.
He's also demonstrated he's no threat to you. He hasn't pulled out a gun.
That's correct.
He hasn't said one word to you.
He has not.
He's not threatened you in any way, verbally or physically.
No, ma'am.
No knives.
No knives.
All right. He's not swearing at you, using profanity or anything like that, is he?
Didn't talk.
So at this point, you get out of the truck, correct?
That's correct.
And you get out with your shotgun.
No, I got out when my father got out to get in the back, and then my shotgun slipped and was in the floorboard where my feet were all over it. Once I'm out of the vehicle, it was safe to, I'm not going to reach out. I wasn't going to grab it while Mr. Arbery was right there. There was no reason for it. He's run off. I'm on the side of the truck. So at that point, I grabbed the shotgun out of the floorboard and put it back on the seat.
Your dad gets out with his .357 Magnum, correct?
I didn't know if he had it on him or not. I knew he had it, but I didn't see it. He didn't have it in his hand.
So he didn't have it in his hand as he ran about 10 yards down the road after Mr. Arbery.
He didn't run down the road after Mr. Arbery.
Can't hear you, Nate.
That was the list of weapons was to show Arbery wasn't a threat. Somebody asked about it. Arbery was not. They were showing Arbery was not a threat. No weapon, no gun, no knife, no this, no that. If he doesn't have anything and is not saying anything, then how is he a threat? A deadly threat where you have to use deadly physical force.
It's a more effective tactic also
At
to
this
break it
point,
up
you
by
see
parts.
Mr. Bryan pull out in his black GMC truck to try and run Mr. Arbery off the road.
No, ma'am. I saw after I put the shotgun back onto the seat when it was on the floorboard, and then watching Dad or talking to Dad or trying to figure out what's going on. And I looked back down the road. I don't know Mr. Bryan. I didn't know where he lived. I did see him when I had the first encounter with Mr. Arbery. My assumption, I was assuming from what I saw that he came from Satilla. So the vehicle was at what I thought was the very end of the road. More than likely seeing the video the other day where the tree was closest to Burford. It was towards the end where it was almost on the road. I'm certain that's where I saw the encounter with them. And it didn't look like he was running them off the road. It actually looked like Mr. Arbery, I thought the vehicle was stopped. It looked like Arbery went to the left side and then to the right and then went back to the left. It looked like he was engaging with that vehicle.
So you're all the way down here. I'll do it on this one. All the way down here.
Around there, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And
Yeah, if inflation keeps
there,
getting
all
high,
the way
I
down
might be
here by the time you
casting
look
that
at them, is
vote
that what you're
too.
saying?
Fucking inflation is
By the time I
insane.
noticed it, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you want this jury to believe that you thought Mr. Arbery was the one engaging in this black vehicle, not that the black vehicle was trying to hit him or run him off the road.
I'm going to object to the form of the question. You want this jury to believe I think that's an improper form of the question. I think
You want this
ask
jury
the
to
question
believe.
to insinuate that he has some motive for the jury to believe is improper.
I mean, don't
It's-
you always have the motive of
yeah.
the jury wanting to believe what you say?
Cross-examination.
If you gotta allow it.
Thank you. So you want this jury to believe that it's Mr. Arbery who's the aggressor with the black truck, not that the black truck's the one trying to
See, they
run
act like
him
he
off
just.
the road
So you want this
help
jury to
you.
believe?
I didn't see the truck trying to run him off the road. What I saw from down there, I saw this vehicle looked to be at a stop, and Mr. Arbery was engaged in the vehicle.
And then Mr. Arbery was able to get away from the black vehicle.
He ran past the vehicle.
This is just
And your dad wanted to go down there to see what was happening, right?
That's correct.
But you wanted to go around to cut him off.
No, ma'am. I wanted to get around and to see where he was at, not to cut him off.
I don't know about you,
The way
but
you're
this
saying
was,
cut him off.
this
No, I wanted
was
to see where he
exactly
was
the way I
at,
was
be in
taught
that
to
same
do it.
area to let the police know where
That's
he was.
exactly
He's
the way I
killing
was taught
him.
to do it.
Yes, he's just killing them. He's explaining the. If you're explaining, you're losing. That's
Yeah,
the
this
people don't
is exactly
understand.
the way to trial ad, to mock trial, moot
I
court.
have you
This is
take a look at
exactly the
page
way I was told to do it.
24, middle of the page.
This is why you don't have him testify.
Especially when your facts are this bad. That's because, like,
I'm sorry, back up to page 23.
she has so much to
please.
work with.
She's back to another transcript. Don't talk to the police, people. Don't talk to the police.
Take a look at page 23. So line 16. So he turned and went back down this road. Dad's like, hey, go down there. I said, I'm not going through that. I'm not going back to him. And this is about the time that the black truck that was at the scene, that's when he tried to stop it.
Yes.
All right. So here you're telling the police the black truck at the scene was trying to stop Mr. Arbery.
And he
That's
just
what I
said it
believe,
didn't
yes.
happen.
Okay. And that was
just
right
said that
here
was
in this
false.
corner, just on Burford, probably a house past this intersection. So I turned and went this way.
Correct.
All right.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
then he came down, came around, came down Holmes Drive. He was right there. I said, good. We'll have a chance to stop him now. Correct?
Yes.
All right. And then the black truck's right there. I was over here. Hey, stop, stop. Well, he's running up the road and I seen him coming. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
Broken down
All
all
right.
those lies.
So you came around Holmes and you were a few houses down when you encountered Mr. Arbery and yelled at him once again, stop, stop. Is that right?
I think I had it wrong on here. Like I said, once I was bouncing back and forth, trying to explain everything.
Listen, I'm so sorry, guys. I think I got it wrong on here. This is why you don't talk to the police.
Yeah.
He said he lied. I lied when
This
I
is why I omitted it. This is why I stated it wrong. This is whatever. I mean, there might be good reasons. But you're coming off how you're coming off the jury, man. You're just
Oh
trying to
my God.
backpedal yourself, man.
And even everything is a backpedal. The truck was chasing him. No, he wasn't chasing. The truck was stopped. Then he comes back and here's your statement. You said the truck was chasing him. Well,
That's right. Because she knows the answer to every question. She has it marked. She has a cross-reference probably in some notes. That's how I used to do this in trial ads. Like, when you have a question, you know the answer, and in your written question, next to the question, you put the citation to the place where the answer is, wherever it happens to be. So it'd be like police statement, page whatever, line whatever. So if he gives me the wrong answer, I know exactly where it is. I can just give him the page, just read this, because I have it in my notes, and just read this, and then I ask him a question again. And
we will right after this testimony goes, we're going to go over PC and reasonable suspicion. And look, and so people understand, he's holding his transcript. He's holding what he told police, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing she's doing is saying, what you're saying now is different than what you said then. Read it for yourself. That's the power of cross-examination. That's his problem. His problem is he talked to the police.
Any inconsistent statements, man?
that happened that I misspoke on there. I don't know where I would say to stop. Where was it that I said?
I'm
Now
saying
it's
stop. He's already dead. That's what I'm saying.
Came down Holmes Drive. He was right there. I said, good, we probably will have a chance to stop him now. Black truck's right there. I was over here. Hey, stop. Well, he was running down the road. I seen him coming.
People say, can he
that was
reassert
at
his
the
Fifth
end of
Amendment rights?
Holmes, around the other side of the dogleg.
Nope.
Nope.
All right, but do you notice how it says, investigating of Haley right after that says, which way is he running? And you said, he's coming up this way. And where are you at this time? I came around and turned off this road. I'm not really sure how far I was. I was a few houses down. So you're a few houses down. He's asking you specifically, when did you say, hey, stop? I was a few houses down, correct?
Yeah, on here, that's correct.
Okay. And you also got out of your truck at that time, a few houses down on Holmes Drive, correct?
On here is what I said, but I don't believe that's what happened. I don't believe.
Look at him.
I believe I
Look at
misspoke or had it wrong or had it mixed up to when I stopped at the end of Holmes.
Pointing to his statement, right?
But you also wrote it down.
He also
in your
wrote
written
it down.
statement.
Which one?
Take a look at your written statement.
Not only did he say it, he wrote it fucking down. But he misspoke.
About
And now he
two-thirds
wrote-
of
he
the way
miswrote it.
down
On page.
to-
Which might very well be true. But now you're having to explain it.
So I decided to
Might be
continue
right,
down
but
Burford
except-
toward Selwood, then take onto Holmes to see if he would be there. Is that right? You see that line?
Yes.
Okay. And then it said, then you wrote, I made it halfway down and seen the individual turn and run back the way he came, then turn back toward me when the black GMC Chevy turned onto the road.
That's correct. That was at the end of Satilla.
Well, you said I got
Right.
out of my truck and told him to stop, which he didn't. I got back into my truck and stopped just short of the stop sign on Holmes facing Satilla. So you had actually stopped, got out of your truck, told him to stop, which he didn't, then got back in your truck, then pulled down to Satilla and Holmes.
I need a
That-
Red Bull. I'll be right back.
Looking back after everything cooled off, where I stopped, and I don't recall if I got out or not. I think I had this mixed with when I finally.
Listen, I'm going to give you guys a quick pro tip, right? Quick pro tip. Look at this man on a stand. He's holding his statement, right? She said, you said it, right? He said, oh, I misspoke. Then she said, you wrote it, right? Then you wrote it, right? Now I miswrote it down. She's eviscerated his probable cause in so many different ways. And it's great. And look at him. He's literally holding the statement. He can't even put it down because he's not saying anything consistent with it. And that's the part now. Look at him. She got him. She got him all twisted up. This is why you don't testify.
Both times where I said I stopped and got out, I was saying when I stopped and saw Mr. Arbery and the black truck coming at me. We were on Holmes, just short of where the shooting occurred. I probably yelled stop
Yes.
at him, but then once they passed me is when I pulled up a couple more feet and decided to stay where I was at. That's what I was speaking about here.
Isn't it true that at this point in time, when you're a few houses down, Holmes, you stop, you get out, you yell at him, stop, stop. That's when your father yelled at him, stop, or I'll blow your fucking head off.
I don't think so, no.
All right, well, you don't think so? I mean, you were standing right there. You heard your father say this, yes?
I don't think I heard him say that, no.
But you know that's what he told the police he said.
In here in court is what I heard. Yes, ma'am.
So at this point, you're coming down Holmes and you see Mr. Arbery coming toward you.
He was in the middle of a turn. He was on the right side of the road, turning left in that apex is when I saw him there. The first time I saw him on Holmes. He was in the middle of a turn, turning back towards Satilla on Holmes.
Stop! I'm gonna blow your fucking head off.
Is that what the video picks up?
I don't think so. No, ma'am.
So you're saying that
Exile. Hey.
you're coming down this way and he's running toward your truck, he's turning around and he runs back this way. You don't see the black truck at this point?
No, ma'am.
All right. But then all of a sudden he's running back toward you and you see the black truck behind him?
No. When I came around the dog leg, the black truck and Mr. Arbery were together. The black truck obviously just came off of Satilla and were heading towards me on Holmes, towards Elwood.
So you're saying at this point you've made it all the way down here?
He was turning, he was on the right side of the road, turning left. When I saw him, he was in the mid of the turn, and then he turned
I don't
and
either.
was out of sight around
I
that
don't
dog
either.
leg. And I continued, and then once I got to the dog leg is when I saw him and Mr. Arbor, or the black vehicle coming my way.
And at that point he's pinned between the two vehicles.
He was.
You get down to the end of here, having passed Mr. Arbery and the black truck.
No, I was at a stop and they passed me. I let Mr. Arbery run by and I let the vehicle pass me. I was stopped in the correct lane and saw them coming. And that was when Mr. Arbery and the black truck were, Mr. Arbery was running alongside the truck, grabbing at the mirror and the door. And then that's when they split, when they were coming into my lane, that's when they split. Mr. Arbery was on the passenger side and the black vehicle turned, went back into his lane and then was following Mr. Arbery as they went around that dog leg.
In order for you to get from here to here with them behind you, you had to have passed Mr. Arbery and the black pickup truck, correct?
That's when they passed me, was back there, was towards Tilla. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we'll take a mid-morning recess. We'll take a 15-minute recess and then continue with the evidence in the case. Thank you.
15-minute recess. He's got a stay of execution. Damn. So what do you think, brother?
Well, as I was trying to say through in the stream, because this is the way I was taught to do it. You know, this is just the way I was taught to do it in trial advocacy, and the way I was always practiced it is you just, you have your questions, the actually leading questions, you know the answers, you know exactly where the things are coming from, so you can get them on stuff where it's like if he makes an inconsistent statement, you know exactly where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And she has the facts. She has the facts. So
She's
she's able to just lay it out for him, and he gets him to say it again on the stand, which is even more powerful.
And the whole thing
how good is it if you can read the defendant's own words against him from a transcript? But how much better is it if you can get him to literally just repeat it to the jury, like right now, because they can see it with their own eyes.
And you let him explain it, right? Hey, you said this, and she said that the one she set up really nice was the whole, you said this in the transcript. He's like, oh, I was so thinking, I said this, I didn't really mean it. But she's like, well, hell, you wrote it down too. It's like, well, now, I not only said it, but I wrote it down, so it's brutal because, again, that's why most lawyers say don't talk to the police, especially because you know if you committed the crime or not, right? Or if you know if the police, if police are looking at you for committing a crime. If that's the case, that's the reason why you don't talk to the police, because you give these type of statements. I have to shoot somebody giving these statements, and now you're on the stand holding all these papers with things that you've said that are different than what you're saying now, right? You don't never want to be in that situation. You never want to be in that situation. And that's the situation he finds himself in. So everyone understands. I want to just give a quick, before they come back, just the quick difference between why it's probable cause in Georgia. I'm see if I can do this quickly, but it may be a little tough. Okay. So a citizen's arrest. Yesterday, I was on Joe's channel and with law of self-defense, and we went through it. All right. Essentially, what happens is that a citizen's arrest, you need probable cause to make a citizen's arrest. Why? Well, because the state is authorizing you through the citizen's arrest to deprive another citizen of their rights, right? So the state is saying, I'm allowing you to deprive this other citizen of their rights. And to do that, to pass that law, to allow that to happen, they have to conform to the restrictions in the Constitution, specifically the Fourth Amendment prohibition. When you look at the case law, it's essentially the state in that moment is deputizing you to act on behalf of the state. That's why, for instance, in this case, if the McMichaels were justified in the citizen's arrest, they would have protections from Arbery, for instance, trying to resist that arrest. They'd be protected, and that protection would come under state law. Now, also, we looked at some case law resolving this, and all the case law in Georgia specifically says that the citizen that under this statute, the standard for arrest is citizen's arrest. Now, generally, a lot of these cases were, for instance, officers like an officer in Florida chases a suspect into Georgia, arrests that guy, and they would say, well, was this a valid arrest? Well, that person would be arresting the person just as a regular citizen, and we need probable cause to effectuate that arrest. You also have shopkeepers who see someone stealing something, and they would say, and the court's analysis would be whether that shopkeeper had citizen's arrest. And they're just regular citizens. If they're arresting somebody, did they have probable cause to effectuate that citizen's arrest? So probable cause, and even in this case, both the defense attorney, judge, everybody said that you need probable cause to effectuate a citizen's arrest. So that's not a problem. Now, what's the difference between citizen's arrest and reasonable suspicion? Because that's the thing that's confusing everybody. So I'll explain it to the way I used to train it when I was in law enforcement. Generally, probable cause means I have someone and I have a crime that I can put together, right? So a classic example would be I go to a scene and a woman would say, hey, this guy just assaulted me, and she's all bruised up, and she's pointing to the guy. So I have the guy, I know who it is, and I have the crime, an assault. So you put those two together and you got probable cause. I'm not saying he's guilty, but the evidence that is in front of me leads me to believe this person committed this particular crime, right? That's probable cause. Reasonable suspicion is you have a person, but you don't really have a crime. You have, and that's why you usually hear them also known as investigatory stops. You're investigating to see if you have a crime, but you don't really know if you have a crime yet. The classic example is you get a 911 call. Hey, there's a guy here with a gun, right? So a guy here with a gun, he happens to be white with a white coat and a cowboy hat. So police get on the scene. Now they see a guy with a white guy with a white coat and a cowboy hat. They now have reasonable suspicion that a crime, they don't know if a crime's been committed, right? He could have he could have a carry permit, he may not even have a gun, but they get there and they see that guy. They now have reasonable suspicion that a crime may have been committed to stop and inquire. So that's the difference. If you have the actual crime and you can attach the person to that crime, you got probable cause. But if you're investigating whether a crime has been committed, you don't really have the crime yet, but you have the person, you're not really sure if the crime has been committed, you have reasonable suspicion. That's why it's called reasonable suspicion. I'm suspicious that a crime may have happened, but I don't know if one had happened. So that's what we're talking about here. So when it comes to arrest in Georgia, then yes, you need to have probable cause to make a crime. So here, the McMichaels did have reasonable suspicion. I grant that. I think most lawyers would grant that. And reasonable suspicion was they have a person running down the street, right? And someone pointing at him, get him, get him, get him. That's reasonable suspicion. Now, if they were law enforcement officers, they could initiate a Terry stop. They can go stop. Hey, what's going on? Maybe even conduct a Terry search under those circumstances. But citizens aren't authorized to conduct Terry stops under those circumstances. They need probable cause. Now, I know people want to read the statute and say, well, the statute says this, says this. The statute, no matter what the statute says, it is the case law. It is what the courts say that statute means. And every court in Georgia, especially all of the appellate courts, have made it very clear that that statute requires probable cause for an arrest, and that statute invokes the Fourth Amendment. So for anyone who questions that, you go to the opening statements, look at the prior documents in this case, and even listen to this testimony now. That's because even he said he has probable cause. His defense attorney said they're going to prove that he has probable cause, and they know that he needs probable cause for an arrest. So did he have the crime and did he have the person? He's admitted he didn't have both of those things. now it gets to that's the point where can the McMichaels create that probable cause from this testimony? From what I'm seeing, he didn't have probable cause, but that's a jury question. Ooh, I know that was long, Kurt. What do you think?
Well, I would like to clarify a point, possibly for my own education. I agree with you that the case law in Georgia, with respect to this citizen's arrest statute, has interpreted the phrase to be probable cause. I think that's very clear from the case law. So when we're looking at statutes and we look at the statutory interpretation, and every case in Georgia, I agree, has interpreted this phrase as probable cause. What I'm not as sure about, and maybe there's cases that you can bring to my attention, is the global principle of the citizen's arrest statutes in other places, because I don't believe citizen's arrest at common law require probable cause, and I don't believe mere codification of the common law would require it. So whatever Georgia's version means, which does require probable cause, I'm not so sure that's universally true. So I'm not aware on that point.
Yeah, well, first, it's never really gone to it has gone to the federal court system a couple of times. The issue is that some people, usually when I debate this, people will usually bring up, well, if a private person searches someone else's property, right, and they find cocaine, then since they're not the state, they could be able to use that evidence in court, right? The government can use that evidence in court. Hey, this guy got cocaine, he found it, and he's not an agent of the state, he's some regular person. So it comes in, right? Because the prohibitions of the Fourth Amendment against state action. So if we do a state action analysis on this on a citizen's arrest, the state action here is the statute. And that statute, because it authorizes citizens, right, to essentially deprive other citizens of their right to liberty. That's why it implies the Fourth Amendment. So if you look at there's a great academic paper from Harvard that talks about this, and it says that when a citizen is arresting or attempting to detain another citizen under a citizen's arrest statute, in that moment they are essentially deputized by the state because they're acting with state authority, just as if a police officer was acting under state authority. And that action under state authority is what compels the probable cause standard. But again, it hasn't been litigated universally. This is the way it is in Texas. I saw cases in Texas, California, Washington State, for instance, where they all have this same requirement. But obviously federal law hasn't really been flushed out on this because nobody's sued, saying that this was in that way. But I'll see if I can find some case law. So the overarching principle universally.
Did you really explore this on Good Logic Stream, or what was it last night?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll go rewatch that stream because I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know either way.
Oh, no, you're right. There is no universal principle. Like, it hasn't been said, the Supreme Court hasn't said you need probable cause for this arrest, but for this type of arrest, citizen's arrest. But the principle is, but I know for a fact, and if we're just holding it to this case, probable cause is necessary.
If we're in Georgia, I'm sold. In Georgia, I'm sold. Yeah, the case law is 100% clear, no doubt.
I'm making an argument why I think it's universal, but that argument doesn't have the support. This argument is clearly supported by the case law.
You have it solid in Georgia. Whatever's true anywhere else. Yeah.
I feel the McMichaels. I feel for the McMichaels. I do. There's an intent difference between this and intentional homicide, of course. But sometime, I'm assuming someone is dead and they're responsible. Sad for lives ruined. Yes. I don't think they intended to go kill Arbery. But it's unfortunately, you make a mistake on the citizen's arrest. That's the problem. Great explanation of probable cause, reasonable suspicion. As a former Leo, that's probably one of the best ways of explaining it that I've heard. Yeah, it's tough, especially explaining it because cops come in, they don't know probable causes. So you try to explain it in a way so they understand, like, hey, this is probable cause. This is what you need to do, that type of thing. Because, a lot of them have maybe minimal college, 1 or 2 years of college, and you're trying to explain these complicated legal principles. So, it's tough. I know it's tough because I remember when they taught it to me, it was tough. Uh-oh. You ready? That they're about to get back.
I need to get my coffee. That's fine.
Go ahead. They're coming back right now. So I hope everybody understands now the difference between reasonable suspicion, probable cause. I hope everybody, I hope I've explained it to everybody.
Mr. President, represented by counsel, I've got a lot of people standing.
Before we resume, Judge.
Oh, yeah, I believe they were not guilty
Is continuing to nod
until
off.
they
And we would at this point move to excuse her. We don't think it's appropriate for a jury to sleep through both the direct and the cross examinations, and we're very concerned that she's missing some portion of evidence. And it's important to both sides that she listened to everything.
They got a
Move to
juror who
excuse
slept.
her and place an alternate in her place.
So everybody knows what's going on now. They have a juror who fell asleep. They're asking that juror be removed. She slept
Oh,
through
I'm sorry. I was
yesterday's
just trying to
testimony and
hear,
today's testimony.
Yes, to make sure I knew exactly where we were. Yes, we would join in that.
Yes, I believe they were innocent. Well, not innocent. I believe they were not guilty. And now we're looking at the evidence, and now I'm based on the evidence. I'm thinking they are guilty. But I've also thought they were guilty when I first saw the thing. But you know, I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. But after what I'm hearing now, they didn't have probable cause. They're essentially admitting that.
Although obviously I probably have the poorest vantage point in the courtroom, particularly this morning with the easel. I'm not complaining, but I would feel constrained to join in that motion. That's why we have alternates.
State objects. I've been up here cross-examining Mr. McMichael and turning and looking at the jurors.
Why don't
I've
they
not
turn on the
noticed any
camera?
one of them not paying attention at all. To be paying very, very close attention to money.
Yeah, and I've been watching 12. You know, I will say there are moments where she appears tired. She has not slept through the evidence.
Oh, because they got the
I have
juror
been able
on, that's
to
why,
Notice
yeah.
it was brought to my attention yesterday. She was moving. There were no issues yesterday afternoon.
Juror might be
I'm
in
going to
fear,
keep
yeah.
an eye on her this morning and just get some idea of what, if any, consistency there is with what's happening. Based on that, the court will make some decisions on whether to inquire with her, whether she's missed any evidence, and move from there. But
No.
at this point, I'm not going to take the step of striking her, as the court will effectively take the matter under advisement. I'm going to continue to watch the juror. Obviously, if there is, if it goes beyond where it is now with her, I'll take appropriate measures. And if I need to follow up further at the end of this morning, I'll do so. Mr. Goff.
We'd also like the record to know two things before we start back up. After this examination of the witness began or continued, my understanding is the Right Reverend Jesse Jackson is again being in court.
We back to Jesse Jackson? This guy loves Jesse Jackson.
Putting that on the record, not going to re-argue anything. And I would also note
Jesse Jackson in the courthouse.
that there is or was an individual walking about in the foyer outside the courtroom earlier today with a black sweatshirt saying, "I support black pastors." And given that these black pastors support the conviction of our client,
I support black pastors.
those kinds of slogans.
Someone's
being
walking around with a
outside
sweatshirt.
in the foyer.
Saying, I support
where
black
witnesses
pastors. He said it's
are
prejudicial.
sitting. Is not just an issue with the jurors who may or may not see them as they come in and out of the courtroom, but now we have witnesses being exposed to all this. And again, you know, it raises questions. I've noted it for the record. The court can decide with it what it will.
It's all noted for the
I guess when you
record,
have
and
nothing
I
else, right,
can't
though?
speak to whatever may be happening outside the courtroom. There are procedures that the court is aware of that are in place, and something's brought to my attention that is deviating from those procedures, then I'll go ahead and address that. I will note that Reverend Jackson is in the courtroom. Beyond that, anything from the state before we proceed with the witness?
No, Judge.
From Travis McMichael,
No, Your Honor.
Greg McMichael, and Mr. Bryan.
No, Your Honor.
Witness is seated. Remind you that you're under oath.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go get the panel.
All right. Let's see. Maybe they don't even know they have the camera off. So what do you think about the cross-examination going? How do you think it's going so far?
It's it's textbook. It's exactly what I learned, and I'm happy to see it.
This is definitely different than Rittenhouse. It's like so the judge is even more professional. It's like night and day almost, you know.
I don't mind the judge's demeanor that much. I my criticisms remain extremely heavily on the defense counsel and their ineptitude rather than the judge in that case. I mean, they have different demeanors, but I don't think one is necessarily inherently better. But maybe it depends on your style and what you personally like.
Oh, you're talking about the judge? No,
Yeah.
I like this judge because he's you can't tell anything about him. He's just, you know, very calm, matter of fact. You know, I like those type of judges because I like him just to be. I'm just saying personally, I just like it because I just, you know, I don't care about all the bullshit, you know.
Fair enough.
And this judge looks like he likes to cut through the bullshit. For the draft. Thanks. Oh, thank you. We're back in 5. He's on the stand. That break was it helped him a lot. You gotta admit, it's kind of like, yo, you got to get off he's holding the paper in his hand. I didn't really mean to say it that way, and I didn't really mean to write it down this way. And can I use the bathroom? It's like, and you see how they give him the paper so he can hold it. He's holding the paper in his hand. That's all theater, right? Have him hold his mistake, right? Let the jury see him.
All right, so jury.
Yeah, you can object in front of the jury, but if it goes in a substance that the jury can't hear, they'll excuse the jury. Usually, we just like we would try to go to the side, or even the here in New York, the judge and the lawyers would go into the back. Like we wouldn't move all 14 or 15 jurors to the back. We'd go to the back, hammer out the objection, and come back, and then the judge would explain it. But here they had the jury move back and forth.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to proceed with the evidence case from the state.
Thank you. So, Mr. McMichael, you've seen this video numerous times in court. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And at this point in time, you can see that Mr. Arbery is well out in front of Mr. Bryan, who's videotaping this, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And you're telling this jury that at this point in time, both your truck is behind Mr. Arbery and Mr. Bryan's truck is behind Mr. Arbery.
That is correct.
And so he turns around and runs back toward your truck and Mr. Bryan's truck.
From the video, yes.
Isn't it true that the reason he turned around is he saw your truck coming at him down Holmes?
Speculation.
From that video there, I don't believe so, no, ma'am.
And isn't it true that you're coming back down Holmes and he sees the front of your truck, so he turns around and that you pass him as he's passing Mr. Bryan?
No, ma'am.
Speculation.
So for absolutely no reason whatsoever, Ahmaud Arbery, who could have kept running up Holmes to get away from both of these pickup trucks that have been chasing him, turns back around to go back towards both the pickup trucks.
Objection, calls for speculation. Yeah. Ah!
The reason that he turns.
I got it.
Sorry. The reason she's asking.
I got it first.
Oh, yes, true. You just said it twice. But that one I got, though.
Sure thing.
Your Honor, I'm asking for the court to either sustain or.
It's sustained. She can rephrase it.
Thank you, Judge.
And point out the witnesses on the cross. The court is permitting her to ask open-ended questions, just like the defense would be permitted to ask open-ended and was permitted to ask open-ended questions on cross. Ms. Tonkowski.
Thank you. So when you assert that your truck is behind Mr. Arbery, and we know Mr. Bryan's truck is behind Mr. Arbery, Mr. Arbery has the opportunity now to run up homes. Is that correct?
Yes,
And yet, on the video, we see him turn around. Is that correct?
that's correct.
To run back toward the black pickup truck that had already tried to hit him 4 times. Is that correct?
I didn't see him try to run him over.
Did you hear Mr. Bryan's statements in open court while you were sitting here?
I did.
All right. And you know he told the police that on 4 separate occasions he tried to hit Mr. Arbery. You know that.
It doesn't matter. It's already been heard.
Mm-hmm.
That's sustained.
It doesn't matter though. The jury's already heard it.
Did you hear the officers testify to what Mr. Bryan had said?
I heard the officers testify to that, yes.
All right. And you heard that Mr. Bryan told the police that Mr. Arbery tried to get into his truck or grab his handle or whatever that was on Burford.
On Burford, yes.
All right. And so at this point, you're telling this jury, I just want to make sure that the turning around, you don't know why Mr. Arbery turned around, is what you're telling this jury.
I don't know why.
Okay. But when he turned around, you're contending he's now running back towards both your truck and Mr. Bryan's truck.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to ask you about this whole thing about on homes, Mr. Arbery is trying to attack a truck, is what you said yesterday, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You never told anyone that in any of your statements, did you?
I did not.
And that's something you've now told this jury for the very first time, correct?
Yesterday, yes.
You never mentioned that he was running alongside the black truck in any of your statements?
In the statements, no.
All right. You never mentioned that you were worried about the person in the black truck because you saw the person trying to attack his truck?
Can I refer to the notes?
Sure.
Back to the.
Yes, you can. No problem.
We want to hold them so they can see the lies. Hold them so you can see.
Let me
the
just
lies.
tell you what's in there. Let's save ourselves the time. What's there?
No, he's still got notes. That's his statements from early. He's saying he didn't say things that he said. That's why he's referring to his notes. Again,
Why not just get? Sure, you can. Why not just also get page and line number while you're at it? I'd pay particular attention to page whatever, line whatever. That'd be good.
but you want him fumbling around. This is what you want, right?
Either way could be effective, I think. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, no, I like
the. Right.
I like what you're saying, page number this, but right now you want him fumbling. Okay, what did I say earlier? Oh my God,
Yeah, I think either way could work. I might be wrong.
Don't forget, this is also theater too.
Oh no, I don't dismiss the theater point.
Yeah.
I was thinking, the sharp, this line and just the sheepish would be really effective too. But yeah, they both make good theater.
Yeah. The whole Arbery was a jogger thing. That's fake news too. I don't know why people keep saying that. That's 100% fake news. He was no jogger. Like, people need to stop saying that. I don't know what. Matter of fact, it's so much fake news that they can't even use that in court.
No, I just say that he's running back to that truck. I did not say that that he was attacking that vehicle in this thing.
All right, so let's go ahead and go to when you're parked at Homes in Satilla.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so at that point, during
Lawyer told him to put it
what
down.
we see here.
After he said put it down.
with Mr.
Pro
Bryan
tip. Put down the papers.
going up and turning around. Mr. Arbery had actually run to your white truck.
Yes, he has ran to my white truck once already at this point.
All right, and you ran forward toward him, correct?
When he turned and ran back, I went to follow him and decided that that's the last thing I needed to do, and I came back. And he ran around the corner, and I lost sight of him. Yes, ma'am.
At that point that he ran to your truck and then ran away from your truck, had his hands out at his side,
He did. Well,
Refresh your
He's running.
recollection. That's what it's called.
didn't run to your truck and pull out a weapon.
He ran to the truck, but was directing to the truck, but didn't pull out anything, no ma'am.
And so he runs up. How close did he get to the truck the very
Of
first
course,
time?
I agree with this.
Probably from me to you at the furthest.
There was no evidence
I
that he
would
was a
say.
thief.
It was close, yes,
He was a
ma'am.
trespasser,
And
yes.
you got out of your truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? You got out with the shotgun that time.
I did not.
There's no evidence that he was a
So you
jogger.
got out of your truck and you yelled at him. Stop.
As he's getting closer to me, yes, I was yelling at him at that point to stop. Yes, ma'am.
And he turned around to run back.
He did.
Didn't threaten you in any way.
No,
Didn't verbally threaten you.
not
Like
verbally.
yell at you.
Not verbally, no.
Didn't swear at you.
Didn't swear.
Didn't say anything.
Did not.
Objection,
Didn't
asked
pull out
and
a
answered.
gun.
He did not pull
The knife.
Turned around and ran away.
Once he got from me to you, directed to me, once I reached into my truck is when he turned and ran away. Yes, ma'am.
So at that point, you're reaching into your truck and he sees you do this.
Yes,
He turns and runs away.
he did. Yes, ma'am.
So now we see him running back. You said he ran up around the dog leg, right?
He did. Correct.
And at that point, we see him running back down the dog leg. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So he got back to that blue mailbox and then had to turn around and headed back towards you.
I believe he was past the blue mailbox.
So he got past the blue mailbox,
Yeah, he was completely out of sight.
right? But now in the video, we can see that he's turned around and is heading back toward you.
That's correct.
And at this point, he's pinned between the two pickup trucks.
He is between two pickup trucks. Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we're going to freeze frame it right here. You've raised your shotgun at him at this point.
At that point, I did. Yes, ma'am.
And he's 30 to 40 yards away from you.
That's what I was put on the. That's what I said in the statement and wrote, I believe. Thinking back on it now, I think it was 30 to 40 feet. It was closer to 30, 40 yards. It's 30, 40 yards, 120 feet. He was not that far away from me.
All right. And at this point right here, hasn't said anything to you,
He has not said anything yet. No, ma'am.
hasn't verbally threatened you,
Verbally, no.
still running with his hands at his sides,
Directly towards me, yes, ma'am.
hasn't pulled out a gun,
Hasn't seen a weapon yet, no, ma'am.
and hasn't shown you a weapon this entire time.
He has not.
Hasn't said a word the entire time.
Not one time.
All he's done is run away from you.
Run past me, yes, ma'am.
Shit.
And you pulled out a shotgun and pointed it at him.
Running directly towards me, and this is now the
He was
second
coming right
time
for
on
us.
the road coming directly, and then watching how he interacted with the pickup truck in that general location when I pulled it first time, attacking the truck, and then seeing him interact with the vehicle on Burford, saying that the police are coming, him turning and running, on top of seeing Mr. Albenzi pointing, and the whole February 11th episode. I was under the impression, and I was, at this point, this guy can be a threat, and he is coming directly to me. Yes, I pointed the shotgun at him to deter him from coming directly to me, which was effective at that point there.
You're under the impression, is that right? You're under the impression, because of all those things that you just mentioned, that he could be a threat to you.
Yes.
Now, let's take a look at State's Exhibit. $129.
And Civil, can you do me a favor? Can you cover this tomorrow on your channel? Because tomorrow I have to go get prepped for my eye surgery. tomorrow, so I can't do the full live stream. So I don't know if you can you take it from me for a day?
I don't know if I can commit to that right now. Let's
Your
get
father-
together
Well,
on
later.
this.
Well,
Is in the pickup
Okay.
truck, correct?
but think
Yes,
about
ma'am.
it if you
And he
can.
has his
Yeah.
357 Magnum, correct?
He has it, yes.
All right. And this is when you finally have given him the phone and said, call 911.
Seconds before this is when I dialed 911 after I realized that I was misunderstood, that he has not called 911 or had not called 911, and realized the error and called, and then gave my dad the phone once I saw Mr. Arbery coming back at me this third time. Gave it to him, once he was coming around that dog leg. Yes, ma'am.
And your father had 30 years of law enforcement. Is that correct?
I believe so.
All right. So, and he knows how to take care of himself, doesn't he?
He knows how.
Oh, I know. And he's got a handgun with him, right? And
Yes.
he's on higher ground, isn't he?
I have the
Yes.
high ground.
Yeah,
and
I would say higher ground. I'd say vulnerable.
Got the high ground.
And
Yeah.
you never once, anywhere in your police statement, said you were ever worried about your father or him being attacked at all. Never said that once in any of your statements.
In the statements, I guess not. No, ma'am.
So at this point, you and your dad are both yelling at Mr. Arbery to stop.
I am yelling. I'm sure my dad is, but I was not paying attention to what my father was saying.
All right. So at this point in time, you are right next to your pickup truck in the doorway, right?
I'm right in the crux of it. Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. And Mr. Arbery is moving this way and then he's moving that way, correct?
Yes, correct.
And you have now moved yourself out of that crux to the doorway into the roadway. Is that right?
Yes, because when I drew down on him, and then because he was coming directly toward me, focused in on me, and I drew down on him, he immediately broke his direction and went to the right. When he went to the right, I came to the left to gain distance. I was thinking that what I would do, or anybody else, would go across the yard, would run across the yard. Well, as I was going across, I saw that he turned and started directing towards me on the road again, and then turned a third time and then went back to the side of the vehicle. So I was trying to gain distance.
Gain distance. So you're expecting that he should take action to get away from you because you're pointing a shotgun at him.
I was not wanting him to come to charge me, to attack me, which I was assuming was happening. Yes, that's exactly what I was doing.
So him running down this road, being pursued by Mr. Bryan's truck, is him attacking you.
The last time that I saw Mr. Bryan's truck was when I was at a stop just before where I'm at now, and he was was all over that truck. And they left, and I never saw that truck turn around, and then Mr. Arbery is coming back to me, yelling at him, stop, directing to me. He wasn't going to the left. He wasn't going to the right. He was coming straight to me that first time. I was thinking, all right, he's going to try to get in this truck, or he's going to try to attack me or my dad or who knows what. He was acting weird. He was acting funny when I was trying to talk to him prior. So I'm on alert. He turns, runs off, comes back. I'm sure I saw Mr. Bryan's truck in this instance, but I was focused on what I perceived as a threat. So I only remember the question now.
Well, I think the question is, you didn't know what he was doing except continuing to run away from Mr. Bryan's truck.
No, he was coming towards me.
All right, but you just said, who knows what? You didn't know what this guy was going to do, right?
I did not.
And all he had done so far is run away from you, right?
He has ran past me and ran away, and I let him run away. Yes, yes.
But at this time, you're not letting him run away. You're pointing a shotgun at him, correct?
I am not letting him run to me, directly to me.
And he doesn't.
Nice.
He runs around there, right?
He did.
Mm-hmm.
And comes around that corner, and you have closed the distance yourself on him, haven't you?
I have gone to the front of my truck. I did not go to the passenger side of my truck at that time. I was trying to keep an eye on him to make sure that he didn't try to get in my truck or try to get to my dad or who knows, go into the passenger side or what. I was trying to keep an eye on him, and I would think that he's avoided me once I aimed the shotgun. If he sees me in the front of the truck, then he will not come back around, which I was thinking was more than likely was going to happen, and then he would continue to go.
So at this point in time, you could have stepped closer to your pickup truck and kept that pickup truck between you and him, correct?
Can you say that again?
Sure thing. You have moved out in the road. You've aimed this shotgun at Mr. Arbery.
I did.
Mr. Arbery goes to the passenger side of the truck.
Yes.
Okay. Your dad is still yelling at him because we can hear him go, "Stop, goddamn it, stop!" Right?
Yes.
You could have easily just stepped back to your pickup truck and watched him keep going, right?
I could have, yes, but I still didn't know what he could have done right there where I couldn't see him. And to get closer to the pickup, to get closer to Dad, to get to the truck, if he's going to try to come to the truck, I will be right there. So I was thinking that he was a threat, that he might go after myself, my father, or the truck. I wanted to be right there to deter him or to be able to handle it if I needed to.
So you also could have stepped around the back of the truck and followed him in the path that way. Is that right?
Yes, but then he would have to open unrestricted run around the truck and into my open door into my pickup truck and could have took the truck.
So you're telling this jury that a man who has spent 5 minutes running away from you, you're now thinking is somehow going to want to continue to engage with you, someone with a shotgun, and your father, a man who's just said, "Stop or I'll blow your fucking head off," by trying to get in their truck?
That's what it shows. Yes, ma'am.
That doesn't seem reasonable.
Not particularly.
Two guys with guns on you to try to get in your truck.
He comes around the front of the truck, and you are right there with that shotgun, correct?
I was coming around, and then as soon as I was at the front corner panel, he turned, and yes, we were on each other.
You want this jury to believe two men holding guns on you, and he's trying to jump into their truck?
You heard the medical examiner testify that Mr. Arbery's hand was between him and the shotgun, and he was shot here into his torso, correct?
That's the theory. Yes, ma'am.
That was the medical examiner giving his opinion, correct?
His opinion. I'm sorry. Correct.
Okay. And you saw the digital evidence that backed that up with the arterial spurt from his arm before the first two shots, correct?
Yes.
All right. You testified yesterday that Mr. Arbery grabbed your shotgun.
That's correct.
All right. Do you remember Detective Nohilly specifically asking you if he grabbed your shotgun?
I do.
All right. And you then said, you want to take a look at it?
Page 30. Was page 30?
What do you think he said?
No, some version of no.
Page 44.
44.
So do you remember describing the first interaction that you had with him? When he came around the corner?
Reading it, yes, ma'am.
All right. So you told Detective Nohilly that he came up.
I'm just going to switch feeds because the other's feed has the exhibits playing while he's testifying.
Okay.
So I don't mean to break the cipher here.
No, I was just waiting for him to say that he never said to the detective that he grabbed for the gun. I was just waiting for that bombshell moment.
All right. So you told Detective Nohilly that he came up, meaning Mr. Arbery, and that I think that's when he hit me or started striking. He was on me. He had my shirt, or something to that point. I had the gun. I was too close to draw down on him. I did like that, and he's still fighting. And I was just like, and at that time, you're showing Detective Nohilly that you had the gun like this, correct?
Yes.
And Detective Nohilly specifically asked you, do you remember if he grabbed the shotgun at all? And your response was, I want to say he did, but honestly, I cannot remember.
Damn.
Me and him were face to face the entire time. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, and I was trying to think of that exact moment. Trying to give him as much detail as possible.
Yeah.
With stress and all this going on. It was obvious that
the stress in response to a specific question.
Saying rereading it, that he had the weapon the way that I was describing it. But why I said he did not have the gun at that second, I don't know why. But
this is not going good.
I want to say he did, but I honestly cannot remember.
But that seems truthful, though. That's the good thing about
it. You didn't shoot him because he grabbed the barrel of your shotgun.
Well, the
you shot him because he came around that
today,
corner,
my friend.
and you were right there, and you just pulled that trigger immediately.
No, I was struck, and we were face to face and being struck, and that's when I shot. So he came up, I think it was when we were hit. He started striking. He was on me. He had a shirt or, something to that point, and I had the gun. And I was too close to draw on him.
So you're saying that all of that took place. He's got your shirt. He's striking you. You've got the gun up in this thing, and you can't draw down on him. And it's a struggle, and he's on you, and you're going back and forth in front of the truck. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Are they going back to the video now? Let's see what the video says.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
You see, you get.
Is that what happened?
That's on the video, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he was shot right here in the torso. And it all came up, all pellets right back here. Okay. So your gun was parallel to the ground. Yes?
Yeah, if you grab a shotgun and snatch it away, it will straighten a shotgun out. Yes, ma'am.
All right, so which one was it? Was it like this or was it like this?
It was obviously like that in the video. It happened so fast, and trying to recall and everything, I've obviously missed every minute detail.
Explaining the mistakes now.
I've heard good defense attorneys say I can explain away one, maybe two things.
All right, so
before it goes south.
Talk about some of the things that you chose not to do with this matter.
Everything about his testimony is explaining why he
you could have made sure that you and your dad called the police from your house at 230 Satilla Drive before you ever got in that pickup truck, correct?
I could have, but I was under the impression that he has called the police when we left there.
And you could have just continued to drive behind Mr. Arbery and not even speak to him or confront him at all. Isn't that true?
I could have, yes.
And you could have just let him run away when he took off in front of Mr. Bryan's house. From the Night Owl video we saw, you could have just gone, okay, he's running. We'll just, let him go, or just drive behind him really slowly, right?
Could have and did after I realized that he was not going to talk to me and turn around and run away.
And you could have stayed in your truck over on Holmes Drive, right?
Could have, yes.
And you could have stayed in your truck until he ran by and then driven away to go ahead and follow him, right?
I could have, yes.
Object to what? Somebody's saying object. Object to what?
It's devastating for my case.
Yeah. Oh, somebody's trolling. Travis is the hero. Yeah.
I want to say he did, but I don't remember. That's great. This guy is so guilty.
Yeah.
Not once.
Closing's going to be crazy. Yeah, you got to break her flow. N7 is right. You got to do
During
something.
your
She's
statement
flowing.
to the
She's flowing,
police,
baby, like a
Did
river.
you say that you and your father were trying to arrest Mr. Arbery, did you?
In the statement?
Yeah, to the police.
No, ma'am.
Never said they were trying to arrest him.
You never told the police that you said to Mr. Arbery, you're under arrest, correct?
I did not.
In fact, you never did tell Mr. Arbery, you're under arrest for the crime of fill in the blank.
I didn't have time. I was still trying to get him to stop.
Originally with a crime of fill in the blank.
Can I get the Mad Libs out here, please? I need the name of a crime. I need an adjective.
Just start any crime, whatever crime. Just say anything. I think I just said fill in the blank. You're under arrest.
Let's talk
I'm
a
arrested
bit
for burglary.
about
Fill in the blank.
your attitudes towards sort of vigilantism, okay? You've posted several times on Facebook some things, and we talked about one of them in
would like to
response
change
to
our
Kim
plea.
Ballesteros, where it's like you're playing with fire on this side of the neighborhood. Do you remember posting that?
Yes.
And in response to another post about crime on the website, you responded, arm up, correct?
Is that the Ballesteros one?
Facebook post now. Arm up.
July 1st, 2019, a post by Lindy Kofer. Your first response was arm up. Do you remember that? Would you like to see it?
Yes, please.
I'd be happy to show it to you. I'd be happy to show it to you. Here it is on the slide, bold, just in case you need it.
Here was another
No
one.
problem. No
Let's
problem.
get some more statements. Oh my God. People are saying, can he still get a plea deal?
Plea to what? Jesus Lord.
The top count on all charges? I don't know what you plead to.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll give you a recommendation. How about that? Is it automatic life in Georgia or what? It depends on the state, of course. They'll knock 5 years off the top sentence or something.
You know what I do like, though? No one in the chat is still talking about reasonable suspicion. We explained it well. No one's even brought that thing up again. Somebody's going to bring it up to troll now, obviously, but that issue, I think, is clearly dead. Everyone knows what the law. We all are confident what the law in Georgia is now.
I'll fight you on the rest of the 49 later.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, it does.
But that's irrelevant to the Georgia thing.
Yeah, it is irrelevant to the jury later,
Back in January of 2019, do you recall having a Facebook conversation with a Lacey Allison Cox?
Another Facebook conversation.
Right. And at that point, do you remember telling her about how she felt that you need to make examples out of somebody if they steal stuff? And you said, that's right. Hope y'all catch the vermin.
That's correct.
All right. In addition, she was kind of worried about her father because she said, we've had a lot of trouble with.
Good. Yeah. Out of court statements. But she's not offering for the truth. For the state of
It's
mind.
not offering for its truth, yeah.
Is a post connected with the witness? It's not in court.
I'll ask a better question.
Huh.
Do you remember
I'm not sure what the context was, so to the extent it may have been hearsay, it's sustained.
Okay, I will rephrase. Do you remember telling her that your old man is the same as her old man, which is slap crazy, old as dirt, and doesn't care about going to jail? Do you remember that?
I don't think I wrote that.
Okay.
About to show it to him. She's about to hand him the paper where he wrote it. She's giving it to the attorney. Let me show everybody. I don't think I wrote that. Here you go. She's about to hand it to him. She's about to hand it to him.
I don't think you wrote it. That's interesting.
Why did he take the stand? Uncivil. Why did he take the stand? This is horrible. God damn it. He's convicted himself with his own fucking statements. Don't write this shit on Facebook.
I don't know why you take the stand. I don't know.
My God. And then to say no, obviously she knows you said this shit. That's what she's asking.
If these lawyers recommended this guy take the stand, man, they might be more confident than the Rittenhouse ones.
I was
at least in Rittenhouse, they had a very favorable fact pattern. Even then, we were like, I don't know, man.
This is a horror show. Suicide by stand. Listen, even if you believe these guys are innocent, there's no way you think this is good. She's about to hand him the paper where he said that.
We are watching in on the Travis McMichael testimony at the trial on the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. I'm Aaron Gilchrist in the NBC News Now studios. I want to bring in Chuck Rosenberg and NBC.
Right, I'm stopping it. NBC, you can't give me live coverage and then bullshit me like this. Let me switch the trial feed. Let's see if he remembers himself saying it, right?
I mean, there is rules against hardcore pornography on broadcast TV. So
he is getting screwed. He is getting screwed pretty hard. Oh my God. This is pretty bad. I almost feel sorry for the guy now. It's not even trying to go like a little good. It's going horribly bad. That was ABC. Let me see if I can find somewhere else. 11 Alive is 2. All right, we're going to go back to PBS if they're still up.
Whose genius idea was it to take the stand? Because I can't imagine his lawyer said this was a good idea. That's a hard one to believe. Maybe if you say yes, ma'am, a lot, the jury will like you. I don't know, man.
I don't know. This is horrible. Switch this feed because we don't want to hear their crap. I don't want to hear we're doing the commentary here.
Yeah, that's right. We're the best commentary.
All right, here we go. We're back in the action. Okay. So remember, he said that stuff about his father is, and he said, I didn't say it. And she said, well, here it is. So here we go.
You definitely said it.
You think he said it?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see.
It's on the top of the second page. Take a look at that. See if that refreshes your recollection.
Top of the second.
Mm-hmm.
Did he say it?
Does that refresh your recollection about what you agreed with Ms. Cox about?
Yes, I agree. Responded to it. Yes, ma'am.
All right. She said, we've had a lot of trouble with thieves. It just worries me because my daddy is slap old crazy, LOL. He's old as dirt and doesn't care about jail. And you responded, that's what this world needs more of. My old man is the same way.
I did say that. Yes, ma'am.
And then the next line is you said, hell, I'm getting that way.
I did say that.
Damn.
She said, have to make an example out of somebody. You said, that's right. Hope y'all catch the vermin, correct?
I did.
So your attorney has repeatedly stated a recurring theme here for you, that when seconds count, the police are minutes away. Have you heard him say that numerous times?
I've heard him say it, yes.
Okay. Is that your statement?
It's not.
Then why is your attorney saying that?
Oh, objection.
That's what he believes.
Okay. That's not what you believe.
I can agree with that, but I don't think I've said that.
That's not what you believe.
I take objection to why is your attorney saying that? That's objection.
Yeah, I would object to that, but it's
work product.
I think they're done now. I think she's done. She's done enough damage on it already.
Yeah.
The defendant back.
Yeah, he's done. He's done.
Briefly.
Yeah, that wasn't going to help that much. It's just,
He said, rather than flush deuces, they see you in 20. Yeah, that was kind of brutal. Especially that end part, too. Killing the vermin. He's got a lot of work to do. He's got a lot of fucking work to do.
Good luck.
You've been cross-examined a bit about why you were making certain decisions to approach or not Mr. Arbery.
Yes.
Or what you thought about when he was approaching you.
That's correct.
And you've been shown your transcript, the statement that you had with Officer Nohilly. Okay.
Yes, sir.
He's still holding it.
Take a look at page 7, line 1.
This is how you rehab a witness.
This better be really good.
7, line 1.
Can you recall what you said to Officer Nohilly there?
Objection. Inappropriate question. This is not a prior consistent or prior inconsistent statement at this time.
It's a
That's fair.
rehabilitation of the witness after he's been cross-examined about his intent and why he made the decisions this day. This is a prior statement by him that is consistent with his testimony and to rehabilitate him after
I'd
cross-examination.
allow it. It's technically a rule, but I'd allow it.
Yeah.
He's been questioned extensively, Your Honor, about what he said.
You're rehabilitating him on what you're claiming to be that statement.
What do you say? Page 7, line 1.
1 to just line 1, or
Well, to make sure I limit.
It's bad when your attorney's up there talking about, I'm trying to rehabilitate him. Jury.
Yeah,
Jury's sitting there.
I didn't actually think about that part. It's like, I'm trying
I'm trying to rehabilitate the man. He's telling a whole bunch of lies up there.
Yeah, I missed that one. You're right.
What he said to the officer.
Well, objection at that point.
Okay.
Improper.
Do you recall what you said to the officer?
I do.
Don't read it. What did you say to the officer?
Yeah, this is
I
technically the
told
way you have to
it
do it.
was to close it down that
What were
You gotta read it.
date were you speaking about when you were talking to the officer?
Technically, you
I was
can't
speaking of
just say
February
read it.
11th when I
Technically, you
saw
got to
him
ask him,
the first
and
time
then you
that I
can
encountered him.
refresh.
Yeah, let me switch to another feed with some better.
So that's
audio.
why I say, like, technically, you have to do it that way. But for the sake of expediency, I'd probably just allow it because I'm like, I know what's happening anyway.
Yeah, he's taking such a beating on Cross. You gotta let it's like now you gotta give him a fighting chance. Right?
Give you a break.
Yeah, he has no fighting chance now. If you don't give him this, it's like what the hell, he's looking for a plea at that point in time.
It's like we technically have to do it in 2 steps. Let's do it in 1 step. Get to the point. It's fine.
Or what you thought about when he was approaching you. And you've been shown your transcript, the statement that you had. Is questioned extensively.
Okay.
You haven't read it.
What he said to the officer.
Well, objection at that point.
Okay.
Improper.
Do you recall what you said to the officer?
I do.
Don't read it. What did you say to the officer?
I told it was to close it down that
What date were you speaking about when you were talking to the officer?
I was speaking of February 11th when I saw him the first time that I encountered him.
And did you tell the officer or give the officer an impression of what you thought about Mr. Arbery at that time?
Yes, I said that when I stepped out that he was not there. He wasn't clearly there, and he reached into his pocket.
What did you mean by clearly not that Mr. Arbery, clearly was not there?
The way that he was interacting with me, the way that he was reacting to just being caught creeping or lurking in the shadows to reach to a pocket and then just stay, I would say, bold or having a brazen moment where you do that and then just go into the house, continue to do what you were doing. It was not, it was off. It just wasn't,
Did you share this with Officer Nohilly a couple hours after
I
this
did.
incident?
I did, yes, sir.
All right. If you'll go to page 9, line 3. Before you do that, at any point in time, did you try to describe Mr. Arbery's behavior as you were interpreting it on Burford Road? To Officer Nohilly?
I did, yes.
Okay. And do you recall how you described his behavior?
Yes.
Okay. How did you describe it?
Funny, acting funny, clearly not there.
Okay, let me stop you. What do you mean by acting? What did you mean by acting funny?
The way that his facial expressions when I first pulled up, you know, the anger, and then not speaking, not talking at all. It wasn't like ignoring me or you know, trying to ignore me. It was just the way that he was expressing himself. He just wasn't talking. He was in an anger state, and
what was your interpretation of that?
that he could be.
Goes to his conduct.
Speculation and not relevant as to his interpretation.
I think it is relevant. It's not speculating, it's just his interpretation.
It's just like,
Did you ever indicate to Officer Nohilly that you felt something was just not right with Mr. Arbery?
I did.
Okay. Do you recall ever indicating to Officer Nohilly that you were just wanting to watch him and hope that he would continue to run past you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. You're
That's it? He doesn't have anything further?
I don't have anything further.
Oh, shit.
all right. Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you.
Why don't you just go ahead and leave those there. Thank you. Not sure whose transcripts those are. So why don't you go ahead and step down and over and let their transcripts up there if you go grab.
That was brutal. That was fucking brutal. Shit.
Figure out where we are, and a little early to break for lunch.
We have a brief witness. Just give me a minute.
How do you rehabilitate him from that? She literally walked him down. It was, you know, he didn't know who he was. He didn't know what he does. He didn't say he was arresting him. He never told anybody he was arresting him. And now all of a sudden he's on the stand saying I was trying to arrest somebody for the first time. Never said it before. Right after, what did you doing? Did you ever say you were trying to arrest him? Did you say I'm arresting him for fill in the blank?
Lindsay Kofer.
Kofer?
Kofer, C-O-F-E-R.
That was a disaster. She has murder. Face of the judge tells it all. He's like, my God, you've just seen a man destroyed on the witness stand. And he should have learned. You know, you shouldn't have struggled with it, right? I said it. Oh, if it says it right there, I said it. Yeah, I said that. Instead of no, and then you looking through the papers. Oh, I actually did say it. Oh, well, when I didn't really mean to say it. Oh, well, if you didn't, then the whole thing, you didn't. Not only did you say it, you wrote the fucking shit down.
Tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Go ahead and have a seat.
This was horrible. Hey, Guy Richardson, what do you think? Do you think that was good?
A few brief questions.
Let me know.
If you just wouldn't mind telling us where you live.
Satilla Shores,
How long have you lived there?
since 1976.
1976. What road do you live off of?
Satilla Drive, I live on Satilla Drive.
Yeah, it's too late now.
Have you ever been involved with any of the Facebook pages associated with Satilla Shores?
Yes, I'm a member of the Satilla Shores homeowners page.
Oh, I see. And any other types of pages that involve
Felony
the
murder.
Exit 29
It's a felony
area
murder case.
or,
I don't think first degree
the
is
Satilla
appropriate.
Shores area?
It's a felony murder case.
Sometime back, I was a
thing, though,
member
same
of
charge.
the Exit 29 News Facebook page, but I elected to come off of that because I felt they were brutal,
Too much information?
rude.
Rude, just people being rude on social media.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. What kind of neighborhood is Satilla Shores, generally speaking?
A rural, pleasant neighborhood. I don't know for sure. I don't know really what you're looking for.
Okay. The types of people that live in the neighborhood presently and over the last couple of years?
Families, all ages. It's my impression that we have a socioeconomic mix and also ethnicity mix. It's been a pleasant place to live all these years, and a lot of families, retired people.
Very good. Do you know Travis McMichael or Greg McMichael?
No.
Okay. So I'm not going to ask you any questions about them, but I do want to ask you a couple more questions about the neighborhood and the Facebook page.
Okay.
Have you ever used the Facebook page as a source to get information about crime in the neighborhood?
As I observe the Facebook page, there are many kinds of information we see, and often there would be reports of utility issues or crime issues as someone reported them according to their opinion.
Did you get a sense that what you were reading on the Facebook page about crime specifically, who was reporting about crime on the Facebook page?
Residents.
Okay. Did you get a sense about what kind of crime was happening in your neighborhood?
Based on what I saw on Facebook for the Satilla Shores.
I'm going to object at this point to hearsay from Facebook unless this witness has personal knowledge of actual crime.
Do you have personal knowledge of actual crime?
I do not.
Okay. Did you use the Facebook page though to learn about whether crime had been committed in your neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay. Did you at all try to pay attention to the type of crime so that you could try to make decisions about how you might need to protect yourself from crime?
And objection, Your Honor. This witness has testified that she does not know any of these defendants, so we would object to her testimony as irrelevant at this point.
Even she's raking, yes.
In the neighborhood where she's learning through Facebook about things that are ongoing and how it's impacting her.
It's sustained. I mean, she's already testified to what her
You
opinion.
can't ask that question. Even she's shaking her head. Yeah, like, yeah, she's right. I don't know what the fuck.
She doesn't know the defendants, doesn't know anything about what social media they would have been engaged in. So we're now just talking about what her knowledge of crime in the neighborhood may have been. It's sustained.
Did you post on Facebook after reading things from people about crime?
I think once or twice I did.
Why did you do that?
I don't know if there's a reason why anybody posts on Facebook. I don't know.
Did you ever be?
Judge, I would renew my objection to this line of questioning as irrelevant, Judge.
Take it further.
Yeah. Do you recall making statements about trying to help catch the people who were committing crimes in the neighborhood by hiding in a car and surprising them?
There was one time there was a remark, something on Facebook about the activity that someone was reporting of what took place in the neighborhood. And I think I said on Facebook one time something about it. They had said people were breaking into vehicles. What I read was they said that.
Right.
And then I said something to the effect of, wouldn't it be funny if someone hid in a car and surprised them?
Right. Did you share posts on Facebook yourself about crime happening in the neighborhood as a way to be a good neighbor?
Yes.
Okay.
Not my own experience,
Not your own,
but
okay.
shared someone else's.
Fair enough.
That means she has
did
no
you
personal
post
knowledge of
on
it.
this account to help neighbors understand about some of the crime that was going on, not just in the area, but also in Satilla Shores?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Did you post on the Satilla Shores Facebook page to also notify other neighbors about crime that had been happening in Satilla Shores?
Yes.
Objection.
And let's keep her on direct.
Leading. This prosecution ain't no joke. This is not the bumbling idiots in the Rittenhouse trials. These prosecutors are out for blood. The prosecutor's no joke.
Did you become aware of some squatters or individuals living under the bridge near Satilla Shores?
Yes, one.
one. Did you make some comments about that on Facebook as well, or discuss that with neighbors?
I think on Facebook, I made a remark when someone said something about people they didn't recognize being in the neighborhood and things coming up missing, that I had made a remark. It could have been someone, I knew someone was living under the bridge, because as I went by boat, I saw trash and I saw a person there under the bridge living there. And I thought it was possible someone had come off the highway and come into our neighborhood, since it's a county road.
And do you own a firearm?
I do.
Do you have a carry permit?
No, mine's expired since COVID.
Ah, okay. All right. One moment now.
Why is this witness up here? This witness is not helping the damage. The neighborhood, yes, we know it was bad in the neighborhood. Yes, we know this, but why is this witness up here? Is this witness moving the needle any? Is this witness moving the needle any?
I'm sorry. I thought you passed the witness. Yeah, no, I thought you passed the witness.
Why is she up here? Why is she talking? I don't know. You're watching it with me, guys. They put this witness on after that, just, you know, their witness just after the defendant got destroyed. Now she's going to be cross-examined. What the hell was she up there for? Just to testify to that?
Hi, Ms. Gopher.
Hello.
My name is Larissa Olivier. I'm one of the prosecutors on the case, okay? I just have a couple questions for you. Were you personally the victim of any crime?
Not in over 30 years.
In over 30 years, and you were living in Satilla Shores for how long?
Since 1976.
Okay, so since then, you're not personally a victim of any crime, right?
Well, since 1976, I was, but it's been more than 30 years ago
Okay,
that I was a victim of any crime.
okay. Do you believe that someone stealing is deserving of the death penalty, Mr. Copeland?
Relevance, Your
That's
Honor.
just put the question out.
We've got a motion to make at this point.
Just throw the question out, right?
That's all I have for Ms. Copeland. Thank you.
They know. That was a dirty trick. That was a dirty trick. That was dirty. That was dirty. That was dirty. That was dirty. Oh my God. Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, we're to get breaking point.
She said, "Do you think somebody's stealing something should get the death penalty?"
Recess for an hour. We'll plan to get back to the evidence.
Withdrawn. Question withdrawn.
12:45.
Don't worry about it.
Again, during the recess, do not discuss this case amongst yourselves.
Go up
Enjoy
the
your lunch.
case.
We'll see you in an hour. Thank you.
All right, for the jury.
Wow. Do you deserve to die for stealing? Withdrawn. Even the judge is like, oh my God, this is fucking, that was gangster. She went up there and just threw a bomb out. Boom, boom. You've been living 30 years, right? No victim of a crime for 30 years. I thought that was good enough, right? This horrible neighborhood, she's been living 30 years and never had a crime happen to her.
Your Honor, I have a motion. Thank you. I would ask the court on behalf of Greg McMichael that the jury be brought back in after lunch, that in front of the jury, Ms. Olivier be admonished or asking a question that she knew or certainly ought to have known was impermissible, as was clear by the fact that she made no attempt to defend it. And number two, that the jury be instructed to disregard that question and whatever feelings it might have made them have. And I will state for the record, because we don't have daily reports coming out, that the question was, do you believe that someone stealing is deserving of the death penalty? It's inappropriate, it's incendiary, it's prejudicial, it's improper, and we ask that she be sanctioned in front of the jury for having done that in any case, but in such a serious case.
We join you.
Your Honor, I'd join in that motion.
You're right, though.
If I can have the lunch recess to confer with counsel without waiving the issue, I don't understand why we're not moving why there wasn't a motion for a mistrial. I don't know how you cure that.
He's everything.
But given all the time that we've put into this trial, and I'm talking about everybody in the judicial system, before making that motion, if the court will allow me, I'd like to have the lunch break to confer. Maybe there's something I'm missing here. That's not the appropriate thing to ask for. But if I have to do it now or lose it, then I'm going to move for a mistrial.
How about this? You've reserved it.
Thank you, Your
Honor. As in the state before we recess.
Just note for the record that Juror 12 paid attention fully, was totally engaged, and absolutely no issues with Juror 12 during this period.
Watching Juror 12, and that accurately reflects the court's observations of Juror number 12 also during the...
Your Honor, I'm having trouble hearing you.
That accurately reflects the court's observations of Juror number 12 during the second
black lady woke up.
Proceedings.
The black juror seems to woke up.
All right. We are in recess for an hour. I will take the matter under advisement. At some point, I would like to hear from the state on that question. Maybe we'll do it when we come back after lunch.
Your Honor, without pushing the court, I would ask that if the court wishes to hear from the state, from the prosecutor who made that remark, that she be asked to respond to it now, just as we needed to provide this request at the moment that it happened and contemporaneous with the error.
Fair enough. Anything from the state?
You got to get up and defend it.
Your Honor, I'm not sure what you're asking.
Why you asked that question?
The question, what do you believe someone who steals is subject to the death penalty?
Yes, Your Honor. I believed it was an appropriate question for Ms. Kofer, given that I had her on cross-examination. I thought it was an appropriate question.
Matters under advisement.
And that's all you got to do. Was an appropriate question. If it doesn't,
We are in recess.
Woof. That's all she said. She didn't even care to defend it. She didn't even care to defend it because it's not going to get you a mistrial. It's a question. So, yeah, I would admonish her though. If I'm the court, I would admonish her. I'd be like, there was an inappropriate question. You knew you couldn't answer it. That your response was BS. Let's call it a day. But yeah, that was brutal. The defense didn't have a good morning this morning. That was fucking brutal. And you end on that question? And you end on that? Fuck. Yeah, I don't think it was smart either. I think you could have ended on this. You've been living there for 30 years and nothing's ever happened to you. I would have ended it there. But then to ask it, then withdraw it. Yeah, I think it was nonsense that did not need to happen. But I don't think it's enough to get a mistrial. But we'll see. Prosecution almost had it in the bag. Then she flopped it. Well, she flopped it, I think, with the judge, but the jury, you're the jury. You didn't hear any of that, that stuff. The jury's already gone. Shit. She got to make a name for herself as well. Well, maybe. I don't know. The morning has gone really well for the prosecution. Why would they do something risky and reckless? Yeah, they still understand that. They have this in the bag. From this morning, they did. I don't understand why she would take that risk. Maybe she just was being catty. I don't know. I wouldn't have done that shit. I would have just kept it. You keep it real. All right. Yeah. Nothing's ever happened to you, right? The whole stealing and the death penalty that was unnecessary. Unnecessarily bad too. Unnecessarily bad. So we've seen the first half of the trial testimony for the defense's case. So where's everybody at now? Even though we've seen the prosecution's case, but that was yeah, I think the prosecution made a huge mistake at the end. That last question, unnecessary. You're already winning and winning big. I don't think anybody watched this thing this morning and thought the prosecution lost this morning, right? But this is how you grab defeat out of the jaws of victory. Nate, the lawyer, yeah, you need Nate. You seem like a smooth operator. Could see that coming out of you. Oh, well, I would be, because I think trials are theater. They're tactical theater. And when you do certain things, you have to understand that they have collateral consequences, right? So, and then I think you have to kind of weigh the negatives and positives of doing things. And I think in this case, this prosecutor, I think went too far, because she's, I don't think anybody here who's watching this, who's fair and watching this, they did the prosecution didn't have an amazing morning. But now you're being questioned. You're going to be admonished in front of a jury for asking a bad question. That kind of hurts everything that you did this morning in one swoop, right? So that's what I mean. If you play it straight and say down the line, you get your win, and you can, you laugh about it afterwards. But that was unnecessary, especially for that witness. But I do think that the thing that she did get in for that witness, though, is that she's been here for 30 years and has not had any crime on her thing. So that's it. All right, guys. Well, this is the lunchtime break, and I am going to be out of here, because we usually cover the mornings into the night. Rittenhouse is done. So I want to thank everybody for joining me this morning. We'll pick back up tomorrow morning. I think I'm well, actually, so everybody knows, because everybody keeps asking me. Yes, I'm blind in my eye. I actually have to go in for surgery tomorrow not for surgery tomorrow, to prep for surgery. They're measuring my eye and determining, the fake eye I'm going to get and everything. So I'm going to get this eye removed, and they're going to put another eye in. So I'm a fake eye. So that's what I'm doing tomorrow. So I'm not going to be able to cover the trial in the morning. I'm trying to see if I can get Uncivil to cover it, but if he can, that's going to be cool. So tomorrow I won't be able to do live trial coverage. And then probably after my surgery, I'm probably going to be off for like maybe a couple of weeks, just to, because I have to recover from them taking out my eye. So when that happens, but I'll keep everybody up and everybody involved. I know so many people have been asking me about my eye, and I've been telling, it's actually been happening for a while, but it is, it's just something that happens in life. I'm getting old, so that's my plan. And for the people in the chat, and for everybody, I've been a little chippy for the past week or so, because I've had this whole thing kind of coming down the line. So it's made me a little chippy, and even some of my friends, and and so if I've insulted someone, or if I've been a little tort with people, I hope they understand, and I apologize. I don't mean to be. Sometimes I get emotional over this stuff, like this whole reasonable suspicion, probable cause thing. It's just I hate misinformation, so I'm really trying to. I really try to hammer home on this, but we'll see. So listen, guys, thanks again for watching this morning. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned something about the probable cause, reasonable suspicion. I hope you learned something about this case, and and I'll put a poll up on the community tab. Let me know how you feel about, do you think, after what you've heard this morning, is it guilty, not guilty? Who knows, right? YouTube has demonetized this team. Let me ask them to remonetize it, but I have very little hope of that. And YouTube, I don't know why YouTube plays this game, demonetize it early. Then tomorrow, after all the views are gone, they're going to monetize it. But that's the game YouTube likes to play. So, asking for a review now. All right. Let's see if manual review takes a couple hours to do that. Well, listen, guys. Thanks again for watching, and I'll if I'm on React stream, I'm probably not going to be over there today because I have some things I have to do. But I will be seeing you guys probably Monday. And Monday is when I'm probably going to pick this back up if this case is still going on. Also, I'll probably just have some produced videos just to catch everybody up on the happenings in the case. So, with that said, thanks again for everybody for watching, and I will see you guys on the other side.